Okay, Shalom Israel. The water from waiting for us. No, we're running a little later than normal. Salakia for that. We're about to get started right now. Once again, shout out Kawakab in Guatemala and his congregation. Hope you, our brothers and sisters, are doing well today. Shout out SOW, Virginia, Houston, and Rochester. Hope you all are doing well today. And we have our high holiday season coming in real soon with Hanukkah. You know, for the brothers and sisters who are here, you know, you guys got the times and dates. So it's going to be great to see y'all and get a chance to bond with y'all. If for those of y'all online who want to know when the high holiday dates are, just send us an email and we'll shoot it to you guys so we can give y'all proper correspondence about what days to observe and so forth and so on. And we're going to get started, send our prayers up to the Most High, give the Most High his honor, and then we'll get into class. So much done. Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua.
Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua.
Ha. Nothing to know. Award. Zayawam. The water. Aman.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us like this day. Thanks, so be it.
Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua.
Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua.
Ha. Nothing to know. Rayak. The water.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us sweet savor. Thank you, so be it.
Imagine Wapanya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua.
Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua.
Ha. Nothing to know. Shabbat. Bashalom. The water.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it.
Psalms 121. Anasha, Ayanyamya, Hahoya, Ma'aya, Yabu'a, Isaiah, Yabu'a, Ma, Yahweh, Sha'aisha, Shemaiah, Wa'ratiza, La'a, Yonathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Nawam, Shashamaya, Hana, Yala'a, Nawam, Wala'a, Yishan, Shashamamor, Yahweh, Shemoria, Yahweh, Tazalia, Ayah, Yanyamya, big step, Yad, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Bayawam, Wala'a, Halabana, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashmoria, Malak, I'm sorry, you're right. Makor, right, Yashimor, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashimor, Habalake, Ma'aita, Wa'ai,
Aman. Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from which cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen.
Israelite Credo. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord.
Okay, Lord's Prayer. Abanawa, Shemaiah, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malak Wafka, Sabbath, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Baratiza, Kowa, Haya, Bashemaiah, Netanyahu, Lacham, Yawam, Wasalachno, Wathino, Kasalachno, Wathino, Wala'a, Sabianawa.
Sabianawa.
Bonasai 1.
Bonasai 1.
Abo. Hawashana. Mayan. Right. Kaya. Laka. Amalakwa. Waha'ala. Wahathapara. La'ai
Ahmad. Lord's Prayer in English. Matthew chapter 6 verse 9. After this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. 10 Commandments. La'ayahaya. Laka. Alahaya. Akarya. Ayo. Panya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'a. Tha'ina. Laka. Pasal. Wala'a. Tha'ibadam.
Thou shalt not take unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
Number 3. La'a. Thalakhucha. Sham. Yahweh. Bashawa.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Number 4. Zakar. Hayawam. Hashabat. Laquadashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Number 5. Kabad. Abaka. Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6. La'a. Tharatazat.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'a. Thana'at.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'a. Thaganat.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'a. Tha'ina. Shakur.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'a. Thachamad. Call. Asherah. Laraika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law.
Israel Yeshabim.
Israel seated.
Okay, y'all. We're gonna get back to where we left off, and that is in Josephus, book 12, and chapter. It's going to be chapter 4. Just a quick recap. Last week we went into the fact that Ptolemy Philadelphus practically paid $1 billion in order to free Hebrew slaves so that there would be some type of a goodwill established with the high priest of the nation so that there can be an exchange of services. Pretty much, Ptolemy spent $1.2 billion in hopes that he would convince the Israelite high priest, which was Eleazar at the time, to go ahead and translate the Bible from Hebrew to the Greek, which is referred to the Septuagint to this day, and then to create a separate book of understanding so that the Greeks can have a better grasp of what the Bible was. Because at the time, there was a big push by Ptolemy to get all the books of knowledge and the books of importance in the region and translate them all for the library in Alexandria so that the Greeks can sit back here and establish some type of a knowledge foundation and a foundation where they can use the information that the world had accumulated over the past couple hundred centuries or thousand years or whatever the case is, so that they can go ahead, take this information and implement it into their livelihood and their culture. From previous weeks ahead, we read that the Greeks didn't have a culture at all, and their culture was fairly new. So now the Greeks are playing catch up, and they're trying to accumulate as much information as they can, and they came to realize that the Bible and the scriptures that we accumulated and had over our history was worth $1.2 billion purchase. And we talked about it last week, how that's an indictment on us. Our enemy can sit back here and spend $1.6 billion, because it ended up turning up to be 1.6. It was initially 1.2. Then the charges ranked up because any slave that was a Jew before his father Ptolemy set up the slavery, and after, they had an automatic amnesty. So $1.6 billion to get access to the Holy Scriptures. And what we're about to go into is, on top of the $1.6 billion, Ptolemy gave gifts, additional gifts, that were specific for the temple and the high priest, along with multiple resources for animal and livestock to supply the temple with offerings. So this was a major deal for our people, and this was a major investment for Esau.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
I want to bring something up too in this book called Life of Greeks.
Okay.
It talks about how it says, by the end of Philadelphia's reign, the number of rolls or books that he had reached was 532,000.
So we did get to the 500,000. Remember they said in the Josephus last week, they were at
200.
They were at 200,000. They were working. They said by the end of their collection, they'd get to 500,000. So they got to a little over 500,000.
Yeah. So he said he got to 532,000. It says, for a time, the enlargement of this collection rivaled the strategy of power in the affections of the Egyptian kings. Ptolemy III ordered that every book be brought to Alexandria should be deposited with the library, that copies should be made, and the owner to receive the copy, the library to retain the original. So what they were doing was book jacking.
Wow.
So
That swagger jacket, book jacket.
it was book jacking. For example, it says Ptolemy III asked Athens, Greece, to lend him the manuscripts of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, and deposited $90,000 as a security for their return. He kept the originals, sent back the copies, and told the Athenians to keep his money as a forfeit. So as you see what he's doing.
Scram.
So it's a jack move. Basically, he wants the originals. He'll make a copy. He'll put the money down as a down payment and say, "Here,
He's throwing money in your face.
I'm gonna give you 90,000. Let me get that original. Let me borrow it. I'll give it back to you." But he'll just get the original, make a copy of it, send back the copy, and say, "Keep the money. I forfeited on the
on the deal."
So you see, it was a thing that Ptolemy was doing. It was an unjust method that he was doing to accumulate these manuscripts.
But he understood that in order to keep his kingdom and for his nation to maintain their power, they had to have access to all the information. Look at now, we're at 2024, 2025, and we look at the white man as he's the author of all wisdom and of all knowledge.
Because he's collected it in his universities.
If you sit back here and go to libraries, most of these books are authored by who? White people. Whether it was their idea or not. They're going to sit back here and plagiarize it. And the idea of reading in books and knowledge and information, he made capital. And he made it a priority to have the capital of knowledge and information, because that was just as important as military influence.
Yeah.
How do you know that? Because even the Romans that came and took over the Greeks, a lot of the Romans spoke Greek.
Yep.
A lot of the Romans assimilated to the Greek culture too. There was a power and impact to the pushing of knowledge and information, because that knowledge and information is what helped break us. The Greeks' strength and information, their culture even infiltrated into our people. It's letting you know we had a rich history, and a lot of our people were sitting back here and breaking down and dabbling with the idea of feeding into the Greek way.
Yep.
Just like the Egyptians ended up doing.
They had to control the narrative.
God.
It's about controlling the narrative. Even all media is about controlling narrative.
Information control.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. And to the point where you had guys like Philo and Josephus were yelling and screaming, trying to sit back here and remind people that the Jews were legitimate.
We're losing our culture.
We're losing our culture, and everybody around us looking at us like we're some has-beens and nobodies and never will be's.
Yeah.
And it ended up happening that way. We ended up being looked upon as a nation who had no history and information.
And brought no value to the world.
Even to this day, as far as our information goes to, with some beats and drums in Africa. And we can throw spears long distances. That's all the portrayal of our people are. When you start reading about black folks in history, we're in Africa being put in slavery. Am I right or wrong? That's all. It starts with that.
That's cool.
They don't even tell you about the riches and power that we had in Africa for a period of time. That's scratched away. That lets you know the power of information and how it has a permanent impact on the minds of the people around you.
Or they say that all the Aztecs and Mayan culture was destroyed.
Yeah.
It's a lost civilization. But they don't say that Spain and the Vatican hold some of the original writings that the Aztecs had and some of the books that they had before they burned them all.
Or they don't tell you. We have a book in the back that's written by the Quiches. The Quiches are the Mayan people that sit back here, and they had written records saying that we came from damn Assyria. And before Assyria, we were in Israel. And King Shalmaneser took the Quiche Native Americans and sent them to Syria, and then we escaped and went down the river Euphrates and got to the Americas. And then, this is what's crazy. They only published from the story about Shalmaneser all the way down to the Americas. But they have history of the Quiches connecting all the way back to Adam. In the writing, they said, the Quiches said that Eve was beguiled. He wasn't a serpent, it was a man.
How would they even know that story?
Exactly! How would they know the story? But you know the crazy thing is, the majority of information wasn't published. They had history all the way from Adam to present day. But what they said all the Guatemalan government, which was the Spaniards, were concerned about was the history of the Quiche people once they were in Guatemala. How they worded it to where they boxed out the rest of the information. And the only information, the only languages that even talk about the Quiches are the Spanish and the French. You can't even get this book in English. And there's a reason for that. They don't want you to know what the Guatemalan people were doing before they got to Guatemala.
Yeah. They want you to go with the narrative that they were some savages.
And all of the real information and all real written records are snuffed and hidden and subdued. Just like they were subduing our history. Once they got it, once Ptolemy requested it, he subdued it, learned it, kept it to himself, and later over time, they took credit for it. Like they do for everything.
Yep.
But what you got? You got any more of that?
No, that's it for that.
So, it's a perfect setup to the class.
Well, let me finish reading this part right here.
Mm-hmm.
It says, the ambition to possess old books became so widespread that men arose who specialized in dyeing and spoiling new manuscripts to sell them as antiquities to collectors or first editions.
Wow.
So that also, because it was such a knowledge revolution, people started making fakes and saying these are old.
They do it now for art.
Yeah.
They sit back here and learn how to plagiarize old art.
Yep.
I mean, new art and make it like it's old. They use the same type of inks and paints and materials, and they try to sit back and forge it to make more money.
So that's a Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Yeah, this lady.
It's really a Rembrandt.
Yeah.
This lady, she had a show on the Home Shopping Network, and she had a fake company, a fake corporation, and they were making these paintings, these lost works. They were selling and auctioning lost works, which they were making in the garage. And she said, "That's a what's the guy cut his ear?
Van Gogh.
That's a Van Gogh, right?" And he misspelled his name, and the person got upset because how he misspelled his own name. He just said, "Oh, that's extra special. It's probably extra. It's worth extra money because he misspelled his name." And they start coming down to her garage trying to get their money back, and she would never get the money back. And it eventually blew up.
Yeah.
But she was the one that would sign all of the pieces out. She made a fortune out of it.
A lot of people do that.
And the Edomites, they were like for Christmas. But everybody, how do people get all these lost? How are you the only person finding all this lost art?
No. And listen, the people in France and in Italy, they don't have it. Like in Germany, they don't have it. They couldn't get access to it. But you got access to it.
She got the
And you had a house. You had a regular house. You're not in some chateau mansion.
Smithsonian don't got it.
That's my point. And you're not a billionaire. You should be sitting back here living up the life of luxury.
They were selling
having
on TV.
access to this.
They were selling on TV, and the people were hyping up. QVC people were hyping it up, but the whole thing was a sham.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yep.
But yeah, so they were sitting back here and learning how to make fake books, plagiarizing and selling them. I believe it. That makes perfect sense.
Money,
Great money.
Yeah.
So it was a wild, wild west in acquiring information. So we're kind of explaining it on a regular historical level, but the Most High also used Esau's thirst for knowledge and used it to free our people up, free us from slavery. Go to 1 Corinthians 1 and 22.
He's a cunning hunter. Right?
1 Corinthians 1 and 22.
Let's salute you at Taiwan.
God, yes, sir.
Man, that's crazy.
Let's salute
Yeah,
man.
let's give it in now. Excuse me. Okay.
Tahawa Raha, Shah Shabbatah, Bala Shah, Baya Sha'ala.
Zawam Raka, Shal Shabbatah, Balashar, Bayashal, Amaju. What? Yahweh Hashem Yashabakata.
Yahweh Shem Yasharakta.
Yashmatah.
But I get why he was so thirsty, bro. When you don't have no culture, no history, y'all were going over earlier talking about the history. The Greeks are majority just poems. A lot of it's poetry that really can't be proven.
Just philosophy.
There's a void. There's a void they have to fill up.
Did you pull that verse real quick? You already read it, right?
No, God.
Okay, yeah. Let's read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 22. For the Jews require a sign.
We need something from the sky for the to get kind of some proof the Most High is real. Read on.
And the Greeks seek after wisdom.
The Greeks ain't really worried about the spirit. They want information.
Yeah.
The Greeks want information. They want knowledge. The more power and the more information the Greeks get, the more leverage they have over everybody else. This is why even now on Earth, information and technology is guarded. It's protected. And this is what the nations have been fighting over for multiple years. Who's gonna be the leader in science and technology?
Yeah.
Who's gonna get the newest information, the newest science, so that they can have leverage over the rest of the world? How can we fight for minerals? What's the wisest way to get minerals? And first of all, before you get the minerals, before you figure out what minerals there are to take, you have to create the science for the need for the minerals.
Exactly.
Because the thing is this: listen, lithium, and what was the other mineral right now?
Cobalt.
Cobalt. That wasn't a thing 25 years ago, because there wasn't a need for that mineral. All they needed was oil, gas, and we're good. So now we have to sit back here and create a need to steal and rob people's cobalt and lithium. Now we have everything's about batteries, everything's about solar power, everything is about going green. So we're going to push green. One of the major reasons to push green is to create another arms race, another resources race,
industry
to create a race and a battle for that material. Because as soon as lithium became the thing, China's out here in Africa giving deals to the Africans to go mine cobalt and lithium. America's out here in South America, Central America, trying to rob the Peruvians minerals, their lithium and cobalt. Now it's on. Let's go get some cobalt. Now we have a reason to go to war.
It's time for democracy.
Yeah. And
now we got to push it. This guy's a dictator.
Yeah.
They don't tell you how they're a dictator. They're a dictator.
Yeah.
Listen, even right now they're saying that Syria is liberated. But if you watch on television, you got these guys, or you see on Twitter, that people are standing on 5 to 6 people in a house where they got murdered because they're Christian. The only reason they got murdered is because they're not part of the extreme HTS belief system. These guys are sitting back here mowing them down and standing on top of them victoriously. Like, what benefit you get of killing a mother and a kid? 3 children and the mom and the father.
Sad.
That's what they're doing. But Western media is saying, oh man, they're liberating Syria. But you see, listen, I've seen countless videos where you have Syrian people who've given up, their hands are tied behind their back, they're not trying to fight. They're like, okay, where do you want me to go? And they're on their knees, and these guys are sitting back here, and these crazy Ishmaelites are riding bicycles and motorcycles, not bicycles, motorcycles, going around them and just shooting them out.
Duck hunt.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm like, damn, bro, you're killing people. Just for the hell of it. And you see them in the streets, it's like, have you ever like seen a scene where there's no lights? There's no red and yellow lights and green lights out. They're just roads out. People just making right turns and making left turns.
Chaos.
And these guys are driving. These crazy guys are in their motorcycles out, shooting in the air out. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The guys are shooting M16s or AK-47s in the air, right? And you got to make a right-hand turn, right? So like what the hell's going on out here, right?
Shit, they do it in
These
America.
are the streets of Damascus.
They do it in America too. They just call it takeover.
Hey, but they're saying this is they're liberating Syria. But they're allowing dictators over there, but we got to sit back and stop these dictators? What's the difference? Listen, Saddam Hussein was the bully of Baghdad way before they called him the bully of Baghdad. But when they were fighting the Iranians and killing them, it was okay.
They call him the Butcher of Baghdad.
Yes, it was the Butcher of Baghdad, but the whole time he was the Butcher of Baghdad. But why was it okay in the entire 1980s, the whole decade, to be the Butcher of Baghdad? That was okay.
You're a bad man now.
Now in 91, we want your oil. Now you're the Butcher of Baghdad. We want your oil now.
Yeah.
So now you're the Butcher of Baghdad.
And they took over 76 of his palaces.
Done. But why did they give him 10 years to build 76 palaces? You gave him 10. You gave him 10 years. You gave him 10 years to do what he wanted to do. And then when you want your oil, and once Russia fell and there was no backup, now we're going to take you. This is the insanity of it. So are they really dictators? Do you really care about dictators? Is that really the issue?
No.
Or do you want the country? Because how about the president of South Korea got impeached by his own government?
Yeah, what was that about?
Because he was being a dictator. But it was okay for him to be a dictator because he works for you.
Oh, yeah.
How about that? He will try to assassinate and throw all his cabinet guys in jail. Only because of this reason. His cabinet people were like, hey, I think it's that time for us to start having conversations with North Korea.
Oh, he flipped out.
He flipped out and like I'm putting cases on all of y'all parliament members. Pelican Bay, 23-hour lockdown for all of y'all dudes that want to talk to Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they just gathered themselves together and they impeached him. So watch what ends up happening. U.S. going to sit back and bring some people down to put him back in the office or somebody that they want. But wasn't that move a terrorist or controlling, dominating move? But it doesn't matter if you're doing what they ask you to do. That's the game. Anyway.
I heard he called a military police, like a military police emergency.
Yes, because he was trying to put cases of all the parliament members to gain control over those people
People came
and
out the street
subdue them.
that day. People pulled up.
But that's a dictatorship. Anyway, if the people want, why don't you get the people what they want? Anyway,
Not to get the people.
Anyway, that's what's going on. And now we're back on the topic, dealing with Ptolemy. And after he freed the slaves, he freed us. Now he is about to send a letter or write a letter to High Priest Eleazar, informing him of what he's done and propositioning him to put these scriptures together and give him the understanding of it. Okay? So let's get paragraph 4. So we're Josephus, book 12, chapter 2, paragraph 4, and we're just going to run it and stop it as the information comes out.
You said chapter 2, sorry?
Chapter 2, paragraph 4.
Book 12, chapter 2. It's like page 310.
Chapter 2, paragraph 4. All right, book 12, chapter 2, paragraph 4, which, from the top? Line 34.
Yeah, let's read that, sir.
Now when this had been done after to magnificent a manner, according to the king's inclinations, he gave order to Demetrius to give him in writing his sentiments concerning the transcribing of the Jewish books. For no part of the administration is done rashly by these kings, but all things are managed with great circumspection.
So they're saying is Esau is very thorough, very detailed, and everything is organized the right way. There's a saying in America or just in the world in general, the devil's in the details. Listen, everything is about the little things you do, because the things that you avoid, the things that you're not conscious of, the things that you don't think about, end up sitting back here and backfiring on you. Okay, the scripture says all things should be numbered in weight. Everything that you do should be written down, organized, and properly cataloged. And that's something that Esau is very good at doing. Let's get that verse real quick about being numbered in weight. You got to give credit where credit's due.
Ecclesiastes 42 and 7.
Yep, 42 and 7.
You got it.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes chapter 42 and verse 7. Deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing that thou givest out or receivest in.
He's saying receipts got to be always taken. Keeping catalog of things and having receipts. So he's saying you have to always have proper inventory and proper receipts of all business being done so that there is a record that can be traced to whatever interaction you come across in your life, because you never know when you'll need the paperwork to prove a transaction was accomplished and done. But a lot of problems with our people, we don't keep things, we don't organize like that.
No.
We don't move that way. How in the hell there were like records that we had in canisters years ago in the state of Michigan that had the laws. And we had got so disconnected from the ancient writing that the natives that were in Michigan couldn't read what their forefathers had written about their history. So this makes sense. I don't know what the hell this is. White man. We don't know what this is. White man took it to Washington, these tablets that the natives over time, their language evolved, their speech evolved, and their communication evolved. And they got disconnected from these ancient writings. These officials and these historiographers sat back and looked at this information, these documentation, and they realized they were the Ten Commandments. They were the Ten Commandments, and it was like the Torah.
How did they get that?
That's a very good question. There's a book called The 10 Tribes by Timothy Jenkins that tells you that. But the fact that we had the key to our history and the key to us having a relation with Heavenly Father, and over decades we didn't think it was necessary to read it, reread it, or to have a proper translation with the evolving language that we turn into.
Keep a copy.
And just to make another copy if the language is evolving. That nobody said, hey, maybe we should sit back here and take these scrolls and write them on another piece of paper in a language that these young people can learn. That's how we think as a nation, as Israelites. We don't catalog information. This is why 1 Corinthians 1 and 22 says the Jews seek out the signs. It's not in our nature to sit back here and operate with paperwork and compliance and being thorough with organization. It's not in us to do so.
One audit from the IRS,
over.
And then we shaking.
It's over, bro.
Oh, it's over, bro.
It's over. This is the point. Because we're not built that way. And that's not a good thing to be proud of. To not be thorough enough to put things on paper and keep them on paper. And this is partially why Israel gets taken over, loses jobs, can't get their full check, sits back here and misses out on financial opportunities,
or can't control our history. Because you look at Moab, you look at China.
or just can't pay their bills on time.
That's a real one.
How about that one?
That's a real one.
I've seen brothers, oh man, there's spirits happening. So many spirits happening. That's why the lights got cut off. It was spirits.
Spirits came inside the cords out. Spirit went in the walls out.
Like it's Ghostbusters act.
Cut these lights.
It's cutting the lights off. Right? How about you weren't thorough with your paperwork? You don't read bills and mark the time when the bill says, listen, the white man understands this. Right? He gives you a bill. Then he sends you a yellow bill saying, hey, man, you're in danger of getting this thing cut off.
Whatever.
Then they send you a red bill.
Oh, you got
listen, man. Red means you better stop what you're doing and read these letters.
That pink.
Yeah, that's a real one.
Well, you know what? The problem, it wasn't spirits that got the lights cut off. It was you not looking at red paper.
Yeah.
And pink paper and red lettering saying to pay your damn beeper bill on time. And that's why things get cut off. Set up.
I was saying, let the bill get lost in the mail. I mean, it's due every month.
But you know what Israel does? We forget the bill. We'll sit back here and see the bill, know it's a bill, and not look at it. How many times you see a bill and don't open it? Because you don't want to see the bad news. You don't want to think the money. Listen, you don't got the money, or I don't want to go through the hassle of calling a white man and saying, listen, I don't got it. Can I get an extension? Sometimes people don't even want to go through the hassle of making the phone calls you need to get the extension.
You know what?
We're letting this cut off.
We be like this, let me talk to a human being. Let me talk to customer service. We don't have a customer service. You got to email us. I said,
if you got email and correspondence, forget about it. You got an email, no way. In your head, it ain't meant to be. That's in the Jews' head. It ain't meant to be there.
It ain't meant to be.
It ain't meant to be. It wasn't in the cards for me.
What we say is they don't want me to pay it.
They don't want me to pay it. That too.
They don't want their money.
Exactly.
Or get spiritual and be like, God will take care of it.
Or they'll say these are spirits that are getting in the way of the things I need. And then the lights are cut off. And you're like, why is the Most High cutting these lights off? Maybe it's because you're seeking a sign. And you don't want to just deal with the paperwork.
We're cursed out.
No, we're cursed because we choose to be cursed. We're cursed, the spirits.
Yeah.
Cut the lights off. The curse is over here.
I was gonna say, you ever notice though, they start getting creative when they send stuff in the mail. They know that we look for that print that look like a check.
Yeah.
On the window,
Yep.
And like, oh, they'll open this.
It look like a check, but it's really a bill.
That's a good one.
You owe us $242. You know.
That was good.
And then they put the official
Pay
document.
to the owner of. Got it.
Or they'll put do not bend.
Yeah.
This real.
This means something.
Yeah, it's me. Don't bend it.
And then they give you where the sisters got to go through a cutout.
Yeah.
But this is the problem. This is the problem with our people. We don't embrace responsibility. And this is a way of why Esau can maintain leverage over us. Because listen, even the level of responsibility it takes to open up a business and maintain one,
Yeah.
the level of brain power it takes, man, forget this, man. Let's go to work. How come I just can't work with my hands? Work with my hands.
Yeah.
Because you got to do more than work with your hands. You got to use your brain too.
That's true.
It's the truth. Listen, I know we come off like we're really, we're really putting the light on our people's dysfunction, but you got to, right? You got. Who else is going to do it? Because most people just preach about how we're the victim. How we're the victim, right? You got to know where we're weak at, so you can see how Esau is using that paperwork leverage to keep us down.
Yep.
He uses paperwork and the minutiae and contracts to break Jake. How many rappers read the whole contract they get when Esau getting these rap contracts? Huh?
They tricked me.
Did they trick you? Why didn't you pay another white man to look at your paperwork for you? If you ain't gonna read it,
Master P did.
you better go to somebody else. And Master P lasted a lot longer than most Jake did.
Got way richer too.
Because he was smart.
He paid the money. He paid 25 G's out. Dude gave him the game. He read his contract, did his thing, told him what he needed to do, blew up.
Or he had a greater chance at surviving.
Yeah.
Our people don't do it. And we keep being stifled and pushed down. Because we don't understand Esau's power. His power is in his technicalities, his details, his attention to detail. He understands that about us, and he uses us every single time because we just don't like to work our mind out.
He played with food stamps. He's like, send us the letter back and let us know you.
Yeah. We need you to fill out this 10-page form every 3 months just to make sure we're up to date with your situation. And Jake get their stuff cut off all the time. Oh man, this month it didn't come through. How come? You didn't see this big ass packet around this big?
Yeah.
Come in your mail? You know damn well it was in white and red letters. The damn envelope was white and it was red. Big old red letters. Oh, I don't need all that heavy stuff. It's heavy.
I tell you what it is.
Time sensitive.
I know that. Time sensitive, time sensitive. It don't matter. I got things to do. I don't got time to read, man. I got TV shows to watch. I gotta go to the gym and work out.
Yep.
That's us. If it ain't us, I don't know who the hell it is. And then we're mad that the babies don't have no food to eat. Then it's the white man, his system. Oh man, why don't you catch up? Anyway.
Oh, we want to speak to the retention department. Put me on the phone with the retention department.
Yeah.
Connect me back. Hook me back up.
I will call. Let me talk to a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real.
Instead of sitting back here, well, sir, did you get your information in the mail? No, I didn't get it. If that's what I said. Nah, it was right there in the back room,
Right there.
in the trash. Is what I didn't get it. Well, sir, we'll resend you another packet. Ah, shit. Then you're gonna lose a month and a half because you ain't gonna read that one either. So that's too much with your children.
They're saving money though.
That's how they do. That's how they do. They save. That's how they save money.
So we're
And listen, I'm not gonna act like getting loans is easy, regardless. But that's how you break Jake from getting loans. We need 3 years of tax. Shit.
Yep.
You out the game right there. Because who's sitting back here keeping their records for 3 years before you get a loan or a home? Who does that? Most Jake don't even want to sit back here and file taxes.
Nope.
So you break Jake over that? You might have the employment, but don't keep your records. You got to have your records intact to get the loan you need to get to advance further in what you are endeavoring to do.
And that's why keeping credit is difficult. Sustaining credit is hard.
Kinda.
And they know that. They go off your credit score. Because the credit score ain't nothing but a record.
And then when they sit back here and see your record that you got canceled by Time Warner Cable Lock and you owe $150. They're like, we're not giving this guy $150,000 when he can't pay his beeper bill on time. I say beeper. Even now in these days, you can't pay your beeper bill. You pay. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And like your collection is like $250 from the Piggly Wiggly. You had a Piggly Wiggly card you didn't pay back at. Time Warner, then you have Sprint bill or T-Mobile bill you ain't paid. They're like, this is low level, you know what stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not giving this guy no loan. Oh, I forgot about that bill. Okay, so that's why you're not gonna get accepted.
Yeah.
Then they say this is racist.
This is
racism. It's a racism. You ain't giving this folks out black.
It's a
Damn.
racist system.
Is it? Or they know you don't do paperwork, and they're gonna catch you slipping because you don't do paperwork.
Yep.
Which one is the more plausible answer? Anyway, let's talk about how bad the Greeks are, because Israel don't want to hear about how irresponsible the Jew is. Right? So now we're in paragraph 4 again. Let's start from the top, sir.
Paragraph 4. Now when this had been done after so magnificent a manner, according to the king's inclinations, he gave order to Demetrius to give him in writing his sentiments concerning the transcribing of the Jewish books.
So once again, he also wants the books of the Hebrews to be transcribed, to be changed in their language from Hebrew to Greek, and they want that book of knowledge also, a book of interpretation. Let's continue.
They're like, what is this about?
They don't think. Listen, just like we're not inclined to think overly technical and philosophical, they're not inclined to think spiritual. So it goes both ways.
They call it Oriental thinking.
Yeah.
They say
They don't even want to give credit to the person that it is.
Yeah. They call it Oriental thinking because it's based off of metaphors. And they don't understand how things apply in metaphor form. A lot of the Bible is written in metaphor. They want technical, detailed, meticulous.
But don't give the credit to them Moab. Well, I'm saying they'll give the credit to China.
Yeah.
First, the people who originated it. It didn't start in China. They don't want to say it's Hebraic thought.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that. So yeah. So Esau, our people have our disadvantages, and so do they. So if it's about not knowing how to look at things technically and detail-wise, or not having an idea of how spiritual concepts are, then let me be deficient in my details. Because listen, it is imperative to be able to look at things spiritual. You got to have that. This is why our people can sit back here, not really read the Bible a lot, but understand spiritual concepts, because it's in us to understand spiritual concepts.
And they can suffer for a longer period of time. Whereas, if they go through a scenario where the average...
They're jumping out of buildings and losing their... You know what?
Jumping out the building. This dude, I never forget
the depression.
This dude lost so much money in his stocks, and he went broke, right? But then, when they say he went broke, he was still a millionaire. I'm like, he killed himself? Like, he still got $1 million. Because
he still had access. He still had access to resources.
He still had
real
millions. He just didn't... He wasn't rich. He was rich. Now he's just rich.
Mm-hmm.
Killed himself. I'm like, you still rich.
Jake like, shit, I still got. I'm still a multi-millionaire.
I'm bounce back.
You heard about that Jake that had $1.2 million in his bank? He said, I'm a multi-millionaire. Are you really a multi-millionaire? you're a little bitty over $1 million. But Jake said, I'm still on top. I'm on top still. Yeah. And there's a benefit to having that confidence. Whereas Jake, Esau, they lose $9 million. They want to kill themselves and their kids and their family.
I ain't got $2 million left.
But the status changes.
True.
The clubhouse position changes. The seats at the game change.
Yeah.
You're not in the skybox anymore. They're like,
you can't hang out with your friends.
They're like, Todd, where were you? I was up top of the nosebleeds.
Yeah, nosebleeds. Yeah. Listen, you're like been to a Spurs game or a sports game, where you're so high you get a little dizzy. I
hate that.
Listen,
I don't go
you get so high like the stadium, you're like, man, I'm feeling like my equilibrium's messed up.
Yeah.
You better hold that rail.
Because the thing is, the stadium goes like this, right? So you're up there, right? I'm like, whoa, if you stumble, it's over.
It's dangerous, right?
And then the thought is, why am I this high up in the stadium, right? And then the other question is, you're so high that the stadium is hot. Why is the stadium so hot right now? It's hot in Spurs Stadium right now. Is it supposed to be so hot at the Spurs game? You're like, are they hot down there?
No.
The answer is no, they are quite comfortable. You're the one that's hot. You're the bozo that got the hot dog and chips for $25 for 2 people.
Yep.
Anyway, let me stop.
And you feel like you're gonna stumble.
Yeah.
The scary part is,
That's what I'm
I
saying.
feel like,
Go up there.
if you go to sleep, like if you get like you be tired like that, something happens. You drink a little beer and get too comfortable.
You're
You
done.
might fall off the rail. Like.
You got to walk like this, man, and hold on the rails out to make sure you don't fall, right?
Yep.
Like when you're going down a hill, you got to like walk with your body slanted.
Yeah, you gotta walk like
You got to walk slanted when you go out those high nosebleed seats in the stadium
You know it's
seats.
bad. You're eye level with the jumbotron. That's how you know it's bad.
stupid.
And also, you know it's bad.
The jumbotron is in the way. You can't see the game.
And you also know you're bad when the mascot will never be able to shoot a T-shirt.
Yeah.
The mascot never getting a T-shirt where as far as high. It only goes so high.
Yeah.
The T-shirts go to people that actually spend money on it. Anyway, so yes, talking about Esau, they can't handle spiritual concepts, but we understand spiritual concepts, but we're really poor at details.
Starting from nothing, and creating something out of nothing. Our people are great for that.
Yep, and having hope and spiritual consciousness, but we're deficient at the details, and this society is detail-driven.
Which is about sustainability.
Not spiritual-driven, detail-driven.
Yeah.
So that's just the differences in people, and they've set their societies up based on their natural strengths. So let's continue, man.
According to the king's inclinations, he gave order to Demetrius to give him in writing his sentiments concerning the transcribing of the Jewish books. For no part of the administration is done rashly by these kings, but all things are managed with great circumspection.
Yep.
On which account I have subjoined a copy of these epistles.
I mean these letters that are being sent back and forth to these different parties. Read on.
And set down the multitude of the vessels sent as gifts.
So how was he able to get these epistles? We had copies of the epistles that Ptolemy sent to us, and copies of the letters that were sent from the priest to Ptolemy. That's how Josephus got access to it, because Josephus was a priest as well. And obviously, the priest started learning and figuring out on our end how to keep things in number and weight also. So let's continue.
And the construction of every one, that the exactness of the artificer's workmanship, as it appeared to those that saw them, and which workmen made every vessel, may be made manifest.
So what's saying is that there in these epistles, we're not going to read all of this information from like paragraph 4 through like 15 or whatever, but a lot of these chapters or these paragraphs coming up deals with the details of the workmanship that the Greeks put together for the furniture and the gifts that Ptolemy sent to the high priest Eleazar as a token of respect and consideration. On top of freeing the slaves, Ptolemy sent really exquisite gifts with the intention of it going to the temple. And these epistles, these letters, give detail about how it was put together, what the ingredients are, not the ingredients, but the measurements and the size and everything that was gifted to us. It goes into specifics. We're not going to read all about the furniture because that gets redundant. We are going to go into the meaty part of the information. Let's continue.
And this on account of the excellency of the vessels themselves. Now the copy of the epistles was to this purpose. Demetrius, to the great king, when thou, O king, gavest me a charge concerning the collection of books that were wanting to fill your library, and concerning the care that ought to be taken about such as are imperfect.
So they're saying now some of these books that they collected were worn, were beaten up, and they weren't in great condition. Read on.
I have used the utmost diligence about those matters, and I let you know that we want the books of the Jewish legislation.
They said, listen, I put all my heart and soul in to make sure these books are preserved and maintained. And also concerning the Jewish leadership and how they keep their books and how they keep their records. Read on.
With some others, for they are written in the Hebrew characters, and being in the language of that nation, are to us unknown. it has also happened to them that they have been transcribed more carelessly than they should have been.
So they're saying that from the Greek perspective, we didn't keep proper records or very organized records. And you can sit back here and see how that's the case because, hey, we didn't even have, at least in the beginning, a full collection of the scriptures.
That's been going on for a long time.
Listen, even in the time of Josiah, remember the time of Josiah?
Yeah.
They were sitting back here going through, rummaging at the back of the temple. And say, hey, there's some scriptures here. There's some scrolls here. Check them out.
Can I ask this question?
So the way it looks like, real quick, the way it looks like is they just had a bunch of these scrolls. Scroll here, scroll here, scroll here, scroll here, scroll here. There were just scrolls everywhere. So they weren't taken care of.
The storage.
The story they weren't taken care of, and for the most part, all the Jews knew was the Ten Commandments. How do you know that? You sit back here and you look at Nehemiah. They didn't even celebrate, or we didn't celebrate, the Feast of Tabernacles since the time of Joshua. So from the time of Joshua all the way until Nehemiah, if we didn't celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, what other day did we not celebrate? Memorial blowing the trumpets? Why are you going to do blowing the trumpets and not the Tabernacles? More than likely, we weren't even doing the Day of Atonement.
Yeah.
Though that whole process wasn't getting done. But why wouldn't it be done? Because we didn't keep records intact for us to keep going over them. So we had scrolls here, scrolls there, scrolls here, scrolls everywhere, but we didn't have them all connected for us to be able to sit back here and keep accurate information even for ourselves.
Because, our favorite word is, I've been looking for this.
Yeah.
Man, that's my favorite word. Man, I've been looking for this. Thank God I found it.
And how many times are we proficient in going in our storage and cleaning out our storage? And getting our storage right, getting the stuff that we need and bringing it out and throwing away the junk. We ain't that good at that. That's bookkeeping and organization. But he's saying, I'm not knocking the priests, but these Greeks they're not thorough like we are. What? Everything cataloged in a library. Did the Jews have libraries? Probably not. Real quick. All of Solomon's books, where'd they go? Solomon wrote a lot. You don't think David wrote a lot of books? Hell, Ezra wrote over 200 books. Where'd they go? Ezra wrote over 200 books. Where are they? Lost. Mismanaged. And Ezra wrote them after the captivities. And they were super mismanaged. How come nobody had access to it? Just keep that in mind. So the Greeks are saying, hey man, these guys don't stay on top of paperwork, man. What you gonna say?
Well, I have this question. We know Saul destroyed one of the major hubs that the priests were trained at.
Yeah.
We had a priest city. We had a city dedicated just to priests.
Yeah.
What it just shows is how much that Saul had a negative effect on our nation.
Well, it was
if you have a city dedicated to the priest, that means that city at least had some type of system going.
Listen, but David came right back up. And the one person that was left, he brought him up with him. They couldn't have redid it. Solomon couldn't have redid it. Gone, but nobody wanted to do it.
Well, I'm just saying we had an opportunity to do it.
And we had opportunity the whole time. He couldn't say it was all that damn Saul.
The Saul
if he just wouldn't have said, no, he didn't. Israel not just stay on top of their business, destroy the nation.
What about Gad? I'm not trying to hate nobody. What I'm saying is this: you always remember the story about Gad regressing just to traditions,
yes,
and dances and songs,
yeah,
because the elders and the people that are the new generation didn't have the ability to read all the old documents.
Because they didn't commission anybody to leave the damn TP and rewrite the information, huh? All you do is have 3 guys do it. Listen, first of all, I don't want to make the class about how we don't like to read and write and translate books, or keep paperwork, or have file cabinets. But what am I trying to say, Listen, look at the results. Our records are spotty at best. Hell, getting to this point, well, I'm going to say this. Josephus said, all the way down in against Apion, we only had 22 books in the Bible. Only 22. That means the information was spotty at best anyway. There's way more than 22 books in that Bible now. All I'm saying is maybe it was 22 because the records weren't kept properly. Maybe that was part of why we kept making the same mistakes historically year after year after year after year. This is why the nation as a whole was completely dependent on the Levites teaching them.
That's true.
They were completely dependent on the Levites sitting down and teaching them how to please the Heavenly Father. Without that, the people were lost. That means the people didn't have access to the Bible. The people had access to the laws. And I would imagine not all of them.
Well, everybody couldn't read and write.
All that, and we didn't have books. So when Antiochus was coming out here saying, man, listen, get rid of your Bibles, get rid of the information, he was saying, get rid of these laws. That's all we had. Because we weren't thorough in our record keeping. Even now, you got to beg the Jew to keep their notes. You ever sit back, get Israel to sit back here and have notebooks where their information is valid and written and written properly? It's one thing to write notes. How many of us take our notes and rewrite them clear and legible?
No, right?
How many people sit back here in class, write the notes they have to do in shorthand, and then go home and write them in longhand? So it can be more long-lasting, so you can understand and remember all the information that was brought out that day.
Well, you didn't write the wrong verse by accident.
Yeah.
Fine. Do you go over the notes again, go over the flow, understand why it went the way it went, and properly write notes where it is? Or you just live off the energy of that class.
This was good for that.
And then the next day, in 2 days, you lose the energy.
Well, I said,
You lose the high.
I
Am I right or wrong?
Okay.
You can say, that's a great class on Monday, but by Wednesday, you're zapped. Then you got to have Shamsuwan on Wednesday, or you can't get through the week. Then you're amazing. I'm high. Shamsuwan class is phenomenal. Then you start sitting there, you're feeling good on Wednesday night. You're feeling good on Thursday. You sprinting. Then you start doing this by Friday morning. You start losing it. Then you got to have another bump on Friday night. It's the truth. Because part of it, we don't rewrite notes and recharge that next night. We don't do it. So the Greeks are pointing that out even in our writing as the priest. So let's continue.
Because they have not had hitherto royal care taken about them. Now it is necessary that thou shouldest have accurate copies of them. And indeed, this legislation is full of hidden wisdom.
He said there's no doubt that what's being dropped is valuable and important. Okay, read on.
The book of Isaiah alone is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the whole Bible is phenomenal.
Look, bro. They just found some scrolls like in some caves recently. But they found some souls in some crates.
But think about this. Why are you putting scrolls in caves? Just that fact. Why am I going to have legitimate ass notes like this and put them in a cave where rats and weather can eat at them? Even that don't make sense. Why wasn't there a place where all this bomb information can go to one place and be accessible for everyone? Doesn't that make sense? Not for the Jew. Not for us. Nobody in Israel thought to have a Bible library. Anyway, I'm not knocking what you said about these scrolls, but then the problem is it legitimate? Is it some guy's private opinion? How do you know? It could be a guy's private opinion that he wrote and scrolled on and put them in some rocks. This is fire. I'm going to come back later and get it. Nobody knows. If everything was organized, there'd be less debate on if this information is canon or not. That is another reason why there's so much skepticism about some of the information out there.
It wasn't organized. So we can't get past that. It wasn't organized.
That's
I'm just
important.
playing devil's advocate over here. I'm trying to.
When you said putting scrolls in rocks, I'm like, I'm out of here. Right?
Listen,
Case closed. Not good enough.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They were in the rocks. They were in the caves.
They put it behind the big rock over to the right hand corner. There was a big rock.
Was that?
And they put it in some leather.
Take 30 steps here. Make a left.
They put it in a leather knapsack.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's all they did. They put it in some leathers. It should be hiding.
There's a scripture on that too. 2 Timothy 4:13.
Okay.
They tried that.
Okay.
Tried the Amazon. They was carrying a whole bunch of stuff on Amazon. Got rainbow.
Okay. We shouldn't even have got to the Amazon. Maybe we would have did it in Israel. We'd have been okay. You got that one?
2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 13. The cloak that I left at the Troas.
So this is Paul asking for a favor for some items that he had left behind. He said, "Bring that cloak, that jacket that I left." He said, "Bring that with you. I need that." Read on.
The Stars jacket.
The cloak that I left at Troas with Carpus. When thou comest, bring with thee. And the books.
He said, "Man, I also left some what?"
Books.
So Paul was known to have what?
Books.
He said, "Bring my books with that I left." Read on.
But especially the parchments.
Now, what was on the parchments? What's on the parchments?
Information.
That's his writings. Paul said, "Man, I need my writings." So Paul did work. Paul was a student of books. And when you look at the definition of scholar, the second definition of scholar is a man of letters, a man that writes letters.
Yep.
The fifth definition of scholar is a man of books, showing you that Paul was a scholar.
He was a scribe. He was a scribe.
He was a Pharisee.
Yep.
So Paul, the reason why Paul could speak the way he speaks, and his writings still survive today, because he paid close attention to his writings, and he made sure he maintained his parchments. He kept up with his parchments.
Yep.
Even if he traveled from one city to another, he said, "Hey man, bring my parchment. I need those parchments back. I need my notes back."
See, it seems like the organization got better over time, and they start tightening up their information, their history, pretty much after this time period. They start tightening their information up.
They had to.
Well, that's the point. But before this, it was the Wild Wild West, bro. So gone. That's perfect angle, perfect verse. You got more than?
No, that's it.
So let's go back to the Josephus.
It flooded.
That's how we've been thinking. Let's keep going.
Line 37. It has also happened to them that they have been transcribed more carelessly than they should have been, because they have not had hitherto royal care taken about them.
Now, part of that is also because we were never really financed properly, because we're always broke, and we're sitting back here living handout to handout by the nations. So that's an aspect of a good reason why things weren't put together
It
properly.
wasn't like they just had Kool-Aid stains on the paper,
Kind
on
of.
the laws.
But it also requires financing for organization.
Yeah.
Read on.
Now it is necessary that thou shouldest have accurate copies of them. And indeed, this legislation is full of hidden wisdom and entirely blameless.
They said the information is pure and pristine. The spiritual concepts are not to be denied. Okay, read on.
As being the legislation of the Most High.
And the crazy thing, these Edomites could see from how pure the information is that this was heavenly information. Spiritual, heavenly, no doubt about this is something that you got to have. But we got to clean this up and we got to get it organized. Read on.
For which cause it is, as Hacatius of Abdera says, that the poets and historians make no mention of it.
So these particular historians don't make mention of the scriptures. This is an idea they're saying. Read on.
Nor of those men who lead their lives according to it, since it is a holy law and ought not to be published by profane mouths.
Some people say that's the reason why it shouldn't be published to profane mouths. You're going to read later on that there was a guy that tried to sit back here and break down the scriptures that was a Greek, and he went crazy. The Most High made him go crazy at it because he was touching something that he wasn't supposed to tap into. So that there is a reason some of these some of these philosophers didn't sit back here and mess with it, because them messing with a spiritual book, the Most High wouldn't let them get the understanding of the book, and these men turned crazy. We'll read that later on in this maybe probably paragraph 11 or 12. Somewhere down the line that is talked about. But let's continue.
If then it please thee, O king, thou mayest write to the high priest of the Jews to send 6 of the elders out of every tribe, and those such as are more skillful of the laws.
Most skillful of the law. So they're saying their request to Eleazar, the high priest, is that you bring 6 men of each tribe that know the law. They knew we had 12 tribes. And in fact, even during the time of the Greeks, we had each tribe living in Israel still. Maybe not in a large amount, but we still had all the tribes in Israel at the time of the Greek Empire. So part of Ptolemy's request is to get 6 guys that know the law the most out of each tribe, bring them together. We'll have 72 people, fly them out to Pharaoh. We know we're not saying fly them out, but you get my point. Bring them out to Pharaoh. All expenses paid. We're going to take care of their room and lodging.
They walked the caravan out.
We're going to get you down here. Yeah. All expenses paid, taking care of y'all. And we're going to sit back here and transcribe these scriptures and give us this book of understanding. Read on.
That by their means we may learn the clear and agreeing sense of these books.
And they're saying, listen, it's important to have all 72 of these people uniformly putting this together. No, so there's no fighting. Yes. Okay. 6 times 12.
Septuagint, 70, right?
I'm not taking it there. I'm not.
No, that's what they call it. That's why they call it the Septuagint. I'm just saying, when you said 72, just remind me. They call it the Septuagint because it's 70.
It was 72 men of 6 of each tribe that came together.
Wow.
And translated these scriptures. Okay, read on. Okay, I thought you was.
I was
this guy fall with this freestyle.
There was a bird that flew.
Sept means 7, brothers and sisters.
Completion.
You dig?
There's a metaphysical.
We're overstanding with you guys today. Like, damn, I can't. I don't know what he's to say over here, but you're good. You're good.
I like that though. But I know it's wrong.
Yeah. But let's continue that.
And may obtain an accurate interpretation of their contents, and so may have such a collection of these as may be suitable to thy desire.
What they're saying is this: you got to make sure 72 people can come together and make sure all this writing is clear and there's no discrepancies.
Yes.
So we completely have a greater, because this is what Esau understands. You got to have enough people here to filter out the mess. Make sure there's no arguments over who wrote this, who wrote that. Anything. No confusion. Okay, so let's continue.
Line 40. When this epistle was sent to the king, he commanded that an epistle should be drawn up for Eleazar, the Jewish high priest, concerning these matters, and that they should inform him of the release of the Jews, that they had been in slavery among them.
So once they're sitting back here and requesting these 72 Israelites, 6 of each tribe, they want to remind High Priest Eleazar, hey, we want you to do this, but let's not forget we freed all of your people. So we're asking you, telling you, to sit back. We're giving you an offer you can't refuse.
Favor for a favor.
Come down here and take care of us. We took care of you. We took care of your people. And don't screw us on the back end. Read on.
He also sent 50 talents of gold for the making of large basins.
So listen, he's steadily dropping cash, bro. It was already 420 some odd talents to free the Jews. I think 460. It was 460 talents of gold to free the Jews. Now he's dropping 50 talents of gold just to sit back here and elevate the aesthetics of the temple. Because don't forget, that second temple was not high end. It was a step down from Solomon's first temple. So Ptolemy is sitting back here and boosting up the second temple with more gold to be supplied for the temple. Read on.
For the making of large basins and vials and cups and an immense quantity of precious stones.
So now they're sitting back here. We're going to really flood y'all with gold. And so you guys can make trinkets and cups and basins, stuff like that. And we're going to give you all these different diamonds and rubies that you can put on the cups to bling them out. Because we know you guys like to bling on your cups. Why else are they doing this? They obviously understand what we like. Why am I going to give you rubies and diamonds to put on your cups, huh?
Because we like the chalice.
Yeah.
Listen. They're not walking around here like this, right? With their fingers like this, like holding their cups.
The big boss cup.
Listen, obviously they know it. But let's continue. He also gave order.
Okay. He also gave order to those who had the custody of the chests that contained these stones.
So there was security out. Top flight security that had the stone, that was in charge of holding the stones for the chest out. Read on.
To give the artificer leave to choose out of what sort of them they please.
He said, bring Jacob the jeweler up to the Israelite and show them what type of stones they might like. And let them pick out the stones they like to put on their gold cups. And he was sitting back here he was buying the bar all the time. This is what Ptolemy was doing.
I need this knowledge.
I'm going to throw this bread out here. You are going to do what I want because I'm giving you everything you need.
Yeah.
And more. Read on.
He withal appointed that 100 talents in money should be sent to the temple for sacrifices and for other uses.
So we sent 100 talents of money, not gold, but money, to sit back here and buy more animals and livestock. So they will have a countless surplus of animals to give to offering twice a day.
They're going broke though, trying to help.
Listen, he's taking care of it. Obviously, his money's strong enough to do it.
Yeah.
He's not flinching on none of this. He's got to be at 600 talents at this point. It was 460 the free slaves. Now it's 100. 100 for the animals, 50 for the temple, and a stone man to come out there and give additions to the damn chalice and drink cups and everything like that, huh?
Johnny Dame was out there.
Johnny Dame, Jacob the jeweler, he brought them all out there, right? He's sitting back here. That's around 600 to 650 talents of gold spent for this book. The number is even higher than 1.5 billion. Read on.
Now I will give a description of these vessels and the manner of their construction, but not till after I have set down a copy of the epistle.
See that?
Which was written to Eleazar, the high priest.
So what's happening is we're not going to read about all the detail of the furniture and the gifts. There's no need for that. We're going to keep dealing with the letters that were sent between Ptolemy and high priest Eleazar. What you going to say?
No.
Well, let's continue.
Who had obtained their dignity on the occasion following.
So he says Eleazar obtained this dignity and honor after this exchange between him and King Ptolemy. Read on.
When Onias, the high priest, was dead.
Now we're going to go back to the history of what we're about to. We're going to do a detour on this Ptolemy story. Take a couple steps back. Because what we've gone into this entire Greek process, we've gone into what happened with Alexander, what happened to his 5 generals, the wars of the Diadochi. We've gone into all these wars about the different generals vying for power during this period of time from 331 BC to present day time of Ptolemy Philadelphus, which is around 285 to like 246. That's where we're at now. But we've chronicled the Greek leaders, whether it was Alexander, then we got to Ptolemy Soter, and he had a 40-year reign. Now we're at Ptolemy Philadelphus, he had a 40-year reign. But we want to kind of real quick, while we got the time, go into the reign of the high priest at this same time. Okay? So, it said, when Onias the high priest was dead. Read that part again.
When Onias, the high priest, was dead.
Now stop. Before we read that, we got to go back slightly And let's get to book 11, chapter 8, paragraph 7. And we're going to get to the bottom two sentences of paragraph 7. Matter of fact, about this time is where I want you to start. It was one page behind.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, you do all this flipping. It's 11, chapter 7, paragraph 7. No, chapter 8, Slacky. Paragraphs. It's the last page that goes into book 12, before it goes into book 12.
Page 308.
It's the last two sentences.
Line 347.
It says, about this time.
Okay. He said 347. Got it. Line 347. He fled away.
No.
It's in the same. It's the next sentence.
Okay.
About this time.
Okay, read on.
About this time, it was that Jaddua, the high priest, died.
We don't want to forget that Jaddua was the high priest when Alexander came in. And when Alexander arrived to Jerusalem, Jaddua was the high priest. The people had on all white, and the priest had purple. And Jaddua had a great impression on Alexander. And there was a respect for Jaddua and the priesthood because he saw the vision of these people wearing white and purple. Okay, so he gave sacrifices to the altar, all that good stuff. High priest Jaddua was that guy. Now, remember from reading back in previous chapters, we had a run of bad priests making bad decisions. Remember the priest before he killed his brother?
Yeah.
Because his brother was trying to vie for
In
power.
the temple, right?
That happened.
Yeah, 2 times the younger brother went left.
Yeah.
But the first time, the older brother who had the priesthood killed his brother.
Jesus
the second
said,
time, Jaddua was the high priest, and his brother tried to take his position and took the bribe to go to Shechem, which was the city of rebels. But Jaddua held his ground and let the Most High sort things out. So Jaddua, reason I'm going here, Jaddua was the beginning of a reign of good priests that properly ordered the people for around 4 to 5 generations. So Jaddua was the first high priest that was on point for this particular stretch. So about this time, it was that Jaddua, the high priest, died. Read on.
And Onias, his son, took the high priesthood.
Now, Onias was used multiple times in naming high priests. This is Onias the first. Onias the first took over Jaddua's position, and he was the high priest pretty much as Alexander is dying. Onias comes into power, and he is the one that is in power pretty much from the early 330s or the late 320s down until the early 300s. Through history, if I'm not mistaken, Onias had like a 20-year run as high priest. Onias the first had a 20-year run as a high priest. So, read on.
This was the state of the affairs of the people of Jerusalem at this time.
So, Jaddua was a high priest with Alexander. Onias the first was second. Let that go. And now let's jump back to the Josephus, where we were at book 12, chapter 2, paragraph 5. Where it says, when Onias the high priest was dead.
Line 43.
Line 43. When Onias the high priest was dead, his son Simon became his successor.
So they said Simon became the successor. Simon ended up being called Simon the Just. We'll go into that in a little bit. Read on.
He was called Simon the Just because of both his piety toward the Most High and his kind disposition to those of his own nation. When he was dead and had left a young son who was called Onias.
Now, this was Onias the second. So Simon the Just had a young son named Onias the second. This Onias is who we're going to read about a few chapters down the way, he was the one that was fighting to keep and uphold the spiritual standard amongst the Jews, amongst the rising tide of Israelites that were trying to live and push the Greek way.
There's a conflict.
This is when the conflicts are rising up during his generation. Okay?
But this is before Antiochus, of course.
This is right as Antiochus is about to get into power. So let's continue.
Simon's brother Eleazar, of whom we are speaking, took the high priesthood.
Stop. So what's happening is you had Jaddua the high priest, then you had Onias the first the high priest, then after Onias the first died, Simon the Just came into power. Simon the Just came into power and died. He had a 20-year run also. He died. And then his brother Eleazar took the reins. And that's who we're talking about now, when this exchange between Ptolemy and Eleazar comes into effect. After Eleazar dies, which is the brother of Simon the Just, Onias II kicks in. It's important to know the breakdown of these high priests, because this run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high priests was the best we had in the period of time before things started collapsing. Because there was a gentleman that killed Onias II. And after he died, everything fell apart. Okay? And we're going to go into this slight detour because there is a chapter in the scripture that talk about Simon the Just. And it kind of gives you an idea of the good that was in the leadership at this time, which is why the Most High granted the release of all of these $1.2 million or $1 billion and $1.5 billion worth of slaves got redeemed. Why would this happen if the leadership wasn't right and honorable and just in the eyes of the Heavenly Father? So we're going to go briefly into Simon the Just, because Simon the Just was also the high priest that was in charge when Ptolemy the Soter came in here and took the people and put them into slavery. It was him that was the high priest. They brought him into slavery, and through his brother Eleazar, the Most High used Ptolemy's son to redeem us, and with the hopes of getting these scriptures. So all of this stuff that's happening, the Most High's grace was really coming through in spades. So let's go Ecclesiasticus chapter 50. We're going to get back to this point, but before we go into this letter and this back and forth between Ptolemy and Eleazar, I want to give a little bit of time and keep this in the scriptures as much as possible. Because we're not here just to read the Josephus, just to read the damn Josephus. This is important information that we need to have historically. But the Bible ties into this information also, so we take the time to use it. So it's the entire chapter of Ecclesiasticus 50. Let's go.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 50. Simon, the high priest, the son of Onias.
There you go. He's telling you. Simon the high priest, he was referred to as Simon the Just, which was the son of Onias the first. Read on.
Who in his life repaired the house again, and in his days fortified the temple.
So what he did during his days is he put life and resources into the temple. He made his priority building the temple and reestablishing the sanctity of the holy temple. And then it said he also sat back here and fortified the temple. Okay, read on.
And by him was built from the foundation the double height.
So he sat back here and built the walls higher during his time, during his reign. Okay, read on.
The high fortress of the wall about the temple.
So he sat back here and strengthened the height of the temple. More than likely, this is after Ptolemy came in and hijacked us.
Yep.
There's a very good chance that's when it happened. But he sat back here and fortified the temple to protect itself against foreign invaders. Okay? You just got to put two and two together.
Time frame.
The time frame. More than likely, this was happening after Ptolemy Soter came in when the doors were open, and he took over 100,000 people and put them into slavery. But once again, how would Simon the Just have known this man was this way when the Greeks came in before and we were at peace with them at this time? So there was nowhere Simon would have known this. But once they got taken advantage of, his focus was refortifying that temple. Read on.
In his days, the cistern to receive water, being encompassed as the sea, was covered with plates of brass.
So they're saying the water that flowed underneath the city was covered with brass. So he obviously made some kind of pipe system where the water could flow more freely underground. The last person that made any type of adjustments to the waters under the city was who? You might remember? It was Jeremiah. It was Hezekiah.
Yeah.
It was King Hezekiah made adjustments to the water system, the water flow system during his reign in power.
Underground, right?
Underground. And this is what he's saying that high priest Simon did too. So let's continue.
He took care of the temple that it should not fall, and fortified the city against besieging.
So listen, it's beautiful that in the Ecclesiastes it gives us a little history about this guy, because I would have never read about this if I wasn't going into Josephus to tie it in. So this is part of our history, how he fortified the temple and he fortified the surrounding walls to make sure foreign invaders couldn't get in. So he doubled down on the job that Nehemiah did maybe like 100 years before him. He fortified it even more. Read on.
How was he honored in the midst of the people in his coming out of the sanctuary? He was as the morning star in the midst of a cloud.
So listen, this is why when you read morning star, it's not talking about the devil.
Yeah.
Okay? The morning star is talking about the symbol of hope. The morning star is the first star you see when the sun starts to come out. So they're saying in the midst of all the trouble, all the clouds, Simon was a bright morning star. He was hope in the symbol, in all the clouds, in all the murky uncertainness of what was going on at the time. They're saying High Priest Simon was a light and a guide to the people during the difficult times that we were going through. And obviously that cloudy time was when Ptolemy was sitting back here and taking our people and bringing them to slavery. Okay? So he was a light for us during difficult times. Read on. You going to say something?
No, not right now.
Okay, but continue.
He was as the morning star in the midst of a cloud, and as the moon at the full.
Okay, a full moon is what? Pure light, easy to see,
Emanating.
easy to get. It's easy to get around and navigate when the moon is full. So Simon was a bright light that people could like gravitate to and follow. He's also showing you what leadership has to be. Leadership has to be about a clear light and hope to people, and a guiding light where people can feed off of spiritually. And they're saying Simon was that guy who provided that spiritual light for his people. Read on.
As the sun shining upon the temple of the Most High, and as the rainbow giving light in the bright clouds, and as the flower of roses in the spring of the year, as lilies by the rivers of water, and as the branches of the frankincense tree in the time of summer.
He's bringing out obviously different majestic and beautiful images and imagery that connects to the beautiful representation of a leader that Simon was. For him to be called Simon the Just,
Yeah.
he must have been a really strong example and a really strong leader, despite the losses and the adversity that the people went through. The Most High always presents and brings quality people through disastrous situations, because the Most High doesn't give up his hope on us.
And the Most High said that, he had reserved 7,000 that have not bowed the knee to Baal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's in every generation. The Most High always got a small collection of individuals who have not been to the social norms and don't follow the norms of society. And not the when in Rome, do as the Romans do mentality.
Exactly.
There's always going to be a few that the Most High select that are going to be stout believers and fortify what the Most High requires, regardless of the state of the nation surrounding them.
God. So continue.
as fire and incense in the censer, and as a vessel of beaten gold set with the manner of precious stones.
Listen, when you're sitting back here and you burn an incense, man, there is a peace that comes on you when you burn that incense right, and you put the right mix of oil in it.
Yeah.
So you're not coughing every 5 minutes. I was dying out here this morning on the prayer side. But when you have the right mix of frankincense and myrrh, and you're putting the oil and you're mixing it in with the rocks, man, there is a peace that comes from that whole process. And once again, this is that poetic writing that's explaining the peace and harmony that people had when Simon the Just was operating. Continue.
And as a fair olive tree budding forth fruit, and as a cypress tree which groweth up to the clouds.
You're still dealing with hope and growth. And Simon represented growth amongst the people. Peace and contentment amongst the people. This was a period of time where the people were happy and at peace with serving the Most High. And the funny thing is, this is why the Greeks had so much of a respect towards how the people and the priests operated. You could see the caliber of the men that was being reared at the time. And like we said in multiple of the classes, when we sit back here and really tap into who we are and who we're supposed to be, that's when the nations give us respect. When we sit back here and truly embrace these laws and truly embrace the discipline and the lifestyle, this lifestyle to the T. Yep. This is when the rest of the world sits back here and they tip their cap to us. And there's a respect and an admiration for living this type of life. When Esau sat back here and did his worst to us, was when we show him that we don't respect the very book that the Lord gave us.
Exactly.
That's when our life turns into a living hell. What Simon the Just is showing that even despite the temporary loss of his people in captivity, he was still able to maintain the dignity and the respect and the honor of pushing the Most High and not getting weak in the Most High. And that's a lesson for us to all to learn. This is why, reading this, there's always a lesson in each of these chapters, man. Because you got to sit back and consider how much effort Simon put into the restoration of the temple despite the losses that he and the nation experienced. How many people will sit back here and dig deeper in the book, even though the people were in captivity and suffer what they were suffering? Not many people would sit back here and double down on serving the Most High when they lose, when they don't get something they want in their life. But continue.
When he put on the robe of honor and was clothed with the perfection of glory, when he went up to the holy altar, he made the garment of holiness honorable.
He said he made the garment holy or honorable. He made the position honorable. There was a lot of Israelites, there was a lot of priests that put on the garment and the robe, but they didn't honor the position. They didn't honor what that position stood for. This is a great lesson for all of us who aspire to be leaders. Do you live up to the moniker? There's a lot of Jews that want to be the boss and the head guy and the top guy, but who lives up to that responsibility? Who wears that robe and wears that garment and takes it serious? Or do people take that responsibility and just use it to take advantage of people? Or to play king? Or to play king, or to cosplay like you're the boss.
Or to collect ribs.
Or because that's what a lot of guys do.
A lot of guys like to go.
There's a lot of guys online that sit back here, whether it's online or at the house, they play king and they play kingdom at their house with 1,000 ribs, pulling scriptures, and they run a camp for rib. They run a rib camp. That's what brothers do. Brothers run rib camps. And they try to sit back here and mimic what we're supposed to commit to the body, and they mimic it in their home counsel. We're going to deal with all these problems and go into the scriptures and go into the inner man. Just so they can get a house where they can get as much money and as much respect and get blown up in the house like you're supposed to be a servant in the work. I can't count on my hand how many Israelites do that. How many I've seen online do this. And they sit back here and their whole focus is to fight to make sure ribs serve them. Just like a camp operates.
But the purpose of it is not to serve the Most High. The purpose of it is I had to say it again, I want to extract servitude. So I'm going to use this platform to extract servitude from me. But it's not about me serving anyone else.
And this is what you're going to see about what makes Simon the Just so important.
So just.
Simon was a servant to the people. It wasn't about him collecting anything or gathering anything or being looked upon like he's the man. He was a servant to the body. And this is what Israel don't get. Israel wants to pull verses to justify getting served when they don't realize you got to serve to be served properly. You gotta be a servant to the people's needs.
You gotta give more than you receive. How about that?
That's the point. But Jake don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They want to get more than what they lose. This is why they said Simon wore this responsibility with dignity and with honor. And he was respected. Because he walked the walk, and he talked the talk out. And he was about service. Read verse 12 again.
Verse 11.
Yeah, verse 11.
Verse 11. When he put on the robe of honor and was clothed with the perfection of glory, when he went up to the holy altar, he made the garment of holiness honorable.
Bro, he made the garment of holiness honorable. When they saw Simon, they said, man, this guy is literally about this life.
He's believable.
I believe this guy. This guy is the leader. No doubt about it. This guy is all about serving the Lord. Read on.
When he took the portions out of the priest's hands, he himself stood by the hearth of the altar, compassed with his brethren round about, as a young cedar in Libanus. And as
Lebanon, it's some of the young cedar of Lebanon.
Okay.
Read on.
And as palm trees compassed they him round about.
So also what they're saying is all of his fellow priests had equal respect for him as well. They were locked in. The priesthood was locked in at this time.
They supported what he was about.
Yes, exactly. That's why I said they compassed him like trees. They were stable, and they compassed him, and they supported his stability.
Well, the scripture say, when the righteous bear rule, the people rejoice.
I was going to put out that verse. It was locked and loaded.
Oh,
Let's go there. Let's go there now.
Yeah.
That's Proverbs 29:2. Proverbs 29:2. There's a lot of people that want the lead position in the work, but don't know what it takes to get it, man. And the level of dedication and service it takes to get that position and do it right. Read that.
Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
You can tell that Simon the Just did a great job because the glowing remarks that are being said about him. He's not talking about himself. This is another guy, Sirach. Ecclesiastes written by Sirach, and this was written, I would say, around a generation or two after Simon the Just was living. So he was renowned and respected for how he operated and how on point he was. Okay, so you got something?
No.
Okay, continue. In Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes chapter 50 and verse 12. When he took the portions out of the priest's hand, he made himself stood by the hearth of the altar, compassed with his brethren round about, as a young cedar in Lebanus, and as palm trees compassed they round about, passed him round about. So were all the sons of Aaron in their glory, and the oblations of the Most High in their hands, before all the congregation of Israel, and finishing the service at the altar, that he might adorn the offering of the Most High Almighty.
And what he's saying is that he's showing you how structurally sound and methodical he was at his service and his duties for the Most High. You know, Esau likes to call a group that's they look at us sometimes. They see the garments, they don't see uniformity. Yep. You know, they say, you know, they call us a motley crew.
Yeah.
You know, that word motley crew means a diverse and poorly organized group. So when they see us, yep, they see just a bunch of flim-flam guys coming together throwing Bible verses. But what they should see is organization. What they should see is everybody doing the same thing, saying the same thing, being in the same mind and the same spirit, doing and fighting for the same cause and purpose. Because when you see people organized and unified to that degree, you have to take them serious. You know, this is not just a motley crew. This is not just a poor organization of a jumbled up group trying to throw Bible verses at somebody. Esau respects it when you put your emphasis. Everybody puts their emphasis in being unified and organized together. We talk about it, but rarely do you see things that break camps up, that are, you know, you see things that divide camps, finances divide camps, offenses divide camps. But it's just showing you how during Onias' time, he had the full support of the body around him, and everybody was in one mind. So that's what also makes it glorified too. The Most High said in the, you know, we read it every Sabbath, Psalm 133. You know, where the unity is, the Most High command the blessing. The blessing is when everybody is believing the same thing and in full support of the direction of serving the Lord. That's a wonderful thing.
God, no doubt. So let's continue.
Verse 15. He stretched out his hand to the cup and poured of the blood of the grape. He poured out at the floor of the altar a sweet-smelling savor unto the Most High, King of all.
So what he's saying is his offerings were received and accepted.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of people's offerings aren't accepted. His work, his commitment, his dedication to his job and his responsibility, the Most High honored and respected his work. And the work of all those other priests that were supporting High Priest Simeon or Simon. Continue.
Then shouted the sons of Aaron, and sounded the silver trumpets, and made a great noise to be heard, for a remembrance before the Most High.
It still goes back to everything they did. There was a reason behind it. It was methodical. And everything was based on having a consciousness of the Heavenly Father. A lot of our people go through the routines of the work. And I can only imagine a lot of the priests were just going through the routines of the priesthood. What this chapter is explaining is that Simon sat back here and everything he was doing was based upon having a remembrance of the Heavenly Father, having a remembrance of the good he brought to the table in his many mercies.
He was doing it with all his might. Whatever thou doest, do it all thy might.
Khan. And the Most High received his effort. Well, let's continue.
Then all the people together hasted, and fell down to the earth upon their face, to worship their Lord Most High Almighty.
Yeah, the beautiful thing is, he did his job. Simon did his job. What's the job of the high priest or the leader or the teacher? What's his job? What's his number one job?
Make sure the flock's all right.
Make sure the flock is all right. But to take it a little deeper, to convince them to commit to the Lord.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, Jacques. Can you convince your people to take serving the Most High as serious as you take serving the Most High? That takes work. That takes day-to-day commitment to get everybody to buy in as much as you buy in.
Yeah.
That's hard, and that takes years of work to convince somebody to buy into your faith, to buy into your humility. to buy into your selflessness, to buy into your sacrifice. He said he had everybody around him, from the priest that supported him to the people, were sitting back here on their knees worshiping the Heavenly Father. What does it take to accomplish that? Dedication, strength, consistency, being the same guy every day, having unwavering faith.
Having in readiness to revenge all disobedience once your obedience is fulfilled.
Not.
You know, being qualified to put people in order because you know what it means to be in order. You're not hypocritical asking people to do something that you don't do. And that's everything we're reading about. He's opposite of a hypocrite. He's standing behind what he does, and he has the full support of the entire church and congregation behind him.
Because the people bought into his faith.
Yep.
They bought into his faith. And that's not an easy thing to do. He was truly a potent leader to get the people, all these gainsaying Israelites. Israelites have ulterior motives to get the people to buy him, to serve in the Most High.
We see how difficult Moses had.
Man, it's hard as hell.
Moses almost got stoned many times trying to convince people to go a certain direction to trust the Lord.
So this guy was great. Let's continue.
Then all the people together hasted and fell down to the earth upon their face to worship the Lord Power Almighty.
What is it? They hurried up to sit back here and follow his lead in praying to the Most High. Read on.
The Most High. The singers also sang praises with their voices, with great variety of sounds where there made sweet melody.
So what he's saying is the whole system was running and operating strong and thriving strong. But the only way to have a spiritual camp thrive strong, you got to believe from the top to the bottom. There has to be belief and faith and commitment, and everybody's got to buy in order for it to prosper. But let's continue.
And the people besought the Lord, the Most High, by prayer before him that is merciful, till the solemnity of the Lord was ended. And
read it from the top. I'm so sorry.
Verse 19. And the people besought the Lord, the Most High, by prayer before him that is merciful.
So he's saying, listen, Simon was the leader. And the people bought in to actually seeking the Lord. How, throughout history in these scriptures, how unlikely is that for people to push to learn the Lord? Right? Were they trying to learn the Lord during Nehemiah's time? They weren't trying. Right? They were barely trying to do it during Ezra's time. What was it about Simon that people started buying into seeking the Lord? What the hell was happening? I know we were getting put into slavery. What was getting us to sit back and really buy in? Read on.
Till the solemnity of the Lord was ended, and they had finished his service. Then he went down and lifted up his hands over the whole congregation of the children of Israel, to give the blessing of the Lord with his lips, and to rejoice in his name.
So what is verse 20 saying? He didn't sit back here and just stay on his podium, do his teaching and go through his ceremonies. After class, he was sitting back here and dealing with people every day.
Engaging.
He was engaging with the sick and individualizing the work.
And can I come to this point?
And
when you look at Absalom and David, Absalom ended up getting power when David tarried for a period of time. And Absalom he went to the court and he dealt with judgments with the people.
Well, he went out to the front of the city.
Yeah,
and everybody that was coming through the city, he was engaging them and connecting and saying and reminding them he would defend them if they needed.
It's not enough just to teach and present the word, but there has to be engaging and relationship building. This is where politicians really win. Politicians go, they kiss babies and engage and win. Then they just
but their motivations are horrible.
But they have carnal motivations.
Yep.
But if we have spiritual motivations that are righteous and selfless, and we take the time to engage with people, then we get a lot of good work done.
And also, you see, if you read verse 19 again.
Verse 19. And the people besought the Lord, the Most High, by prayer before him that is merciful, till the solemnity of the Lord was ended.
And then read verse 21.
Verse 21. And they bowed themselves down to worship the second time, that they might receive a blessing from the Most High.
So he said, so it's showing you, he was also able to teach the people to pray for the Most High first and respect the Most High first. Then you get your blessing. You don't get your blessing until you put the Most High first. That was something that he was instituting to show that don't ask for a blessing from the Lord until you give him full respect, full piety, full reverence, and full prayer. Then the Most High will bless you after the fact. Because a lot of us come in the truth thinking that the truth, just because we serve the Lord, we're going to get blessed first.
Yep.
And then we'll come back and serve the Lord after he gives me my blessings. When you look at Onias, he got the people praying and beseeching the Lord first. And then they're coming back and asking the Most High for a blessing. You get blessed after you serve the Lord.
Mm.
That's very important for that order of operation. You don't get your blessing first. You give the Most High his due, his praise,
respect, his reverence.
his reverence, his. You got to show him through prayer and supplication that you honor the Most High. Then you come back and get the blessing after the fact.
And
Yeah,
see,
you get his
what it's
attention
showing
first.
you is how dedicated Simon was to consistently teaching that, consistently teaching the people's mind,
Nourishing that.
nurturing that mentality, that necessary mentality in order to get the Most High's attention. Because we consistently didn't know how to please the Lord. So Simon was an ensample on how to walk, talk, and teach us how to have a relation with Heavenly Father. So that was a great angle. Read verse 21. Read 20 and 21 again.
Verse 20. Then he went down and lifted up his hands over the whole congregation of the children of Israel, to give the blessing of the Most High with his lips, and to rejoice in his name. And they bowed themselves down to worship the second time, that they might receive a blessing from the Most High. Now therefore bless the power of all.
That's crazy. That's really a good point about in verse 21, like about giving the Most High his respect and love the first prayer, and then bringing your request the second time around. Teaching priority in relation with the Heavenly Father is golden. You have to teach people that it's not about you. And even when you're praying, you should be praying about what the body needs and not what you need. But let's continue.
Now therefore bless ye the power of all, which only doeth wondrous things everywhere, which exalteth our days from the womb, and dealeth with us according to his mercy.
But this is another thing. Simon was trying to teach us that in every way the Most High has been dealing with us, he deals with us in the spirit of mercy. That's important. Don't forget what's happening to Israel at the time. We were getting shipped by Ptolemy Soter to Egypt as slaves. So the message Simon was teaching us, even through slavery, was, hey, the Most High has been still giving us mercy. And he was explaining to us what the spirit of accountability is all about. I can either look at my condition and paint this picture as if I am the victim and how life is unfair, and the conditions of life that you're putting me through is only intended to harm me, or I can take the unfortunate set of circumstances that the Most High got us going through, and remember that the Most High is still giving us mercy, and that we don't deserve the fact that we're still living and breathing. It is really all about how we learn to look at our life and the value of our life, which teaches us how to be spiritual. Because they could have sat back here and after Ptolemy had them in captivity and working as slaves for the military, what good is serving the Most High? Why we keep acknowledging the Most High when my son was taken, when my daughters were taken, when my husband was taken? Simon was able to keep everybody gathered together, connected, and still looking at things spiritually. Can we sit back here through our life and through all of our circumstances learn to be conscious of how the Most High has been merciful with us? Do we do that? The answer is no. The answer is most of the time we are hyper-focused on what I don't have, what I think I deserve to have, what I should have, and I'm rarely focused on how the Most High has daily loaded me with benefits despite my difficulties. How the Most High is constantly giving me mercy for all the negative I've done. And it also gives us understanding as to why Ptolemy needed a book of understanding for this Bible. Because this type of thinking don't make sense to a carnal man. Our people were sent to slavery and captivity by the Egyptians, but the Most High is merciful on us. Does that even make sense to a, air quote, logical thinking person?
No.
If we have a responsibility to see how the Most High has been merciful through us through slavery, then is anything else that we've gone through in our life even halfway as bad as slavery? Anybody? So if what we've gone through is nothing close to slavery, why do we have the right to be angry about our condition? When Simon the just is being applauded and respected, partially because he was able to teach the people and convince the people spiritually that despite the sufferings the Jews had endured in being put into captivity, the Most High was still merciful on us and that we really deserved a worse punishment. Do we look at it that way in our lives? That our attitude and how we carry ourselves, really we should get worse than what we've gotten on our worst day? Do we think that way? That's the way we have to think if the Most High is going to accept our offerings and to accept our prayers and our reconciliation attempts. Everything is all lined up in these scriptures. Read that verse again.
Verse 22. Now therefore bless ye the power of all, which only doeth wondrous things everywhere, which exalteth our days from the womb, and dealeth with us according to his mercy.
Listen, this verse hits harder because you know what the people were going through at this time. At this time, we were dealing with slavery in Egypt. And this is another reason why the Most High, within less than 40 years, took us out of captivity. And the Most High allowed us to be redeemed. Why do you think that happened? Because we went into captivity and we took the punishment well. We took the sting well. And we took the sting well, and the Most High did a massive buyout for our people. The Most High put that spirit in the Ptolemy Philadelphians to do that.
And the black liberation philosophy wasn't what happened. It wasn't black economics.
Revolution will not be televised.
It wasn't black economics, powernomics. It wasn't marching the streets holding
those
signs.
are NIGGA statements. Powernomics.
Listen, bro.
Listen, do your paperwork. Nomics. How about that one? Let me stop by.
Listen.
Sorry.
It wasn't this concept. It wasn't even Black Wall Street.
Fun.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that, oh, we don't have our own black grocery stores, our own black. It was pied to the Lord. And the Lord changed our condition.
And it was a humble way of thinking. You know what? We have sinned before the Lord consistently. Don't forget, leading up to that time with Nehemiah, we kept sinning. Even I remember when Nehemiah left for 2 years and came back. They were sitting back here still dealing with letting the nations come in and infiltrate and bind and sitting on the Sabbath. They were turned up anyway.
And then start having the foreign wives kick back in.
Foreign wives, they were breaking the laws already. So maybe all of this was happening. The priests were killing each other. Priest on priest crime. That's what it was, right? It was brother against brother, priest on priest crime, right? All this monkey, you know what was going on, right? So the Most High did what? He stung us. He stung us. But what made Simon the just actually just was that he taught us how to deal with the punishment of the Lord. And to teach us that the punishment could have been way worse than what you're going through.
It's funny, this vein is going there. I was watching these documentaries the last few days. And one was just talking about the revolutionaries, etc. They said that one of the main thoughts was, I would never accept being a slave.
All right. Then you'll be dying. You'll be dead. And you'll come back when you come back in your next generation, and you'll be a slave again.
Right.
That is the problem. It's not about just accepting your position in life as a carnal man or woman and shucking and jiving in a carnal sense. But we have to have enough understanding that the Most High is included in these conditions. And if we're conscious that our life is exactly the way it's supposed to be, and the conditions in our life are exactly what we deserve because of the things we do or do not bring to the table. And however bad your life might be, you deserve worse. That's the realization. If we're spiritual, what we got, what the Most High's got us going through, we deserve every bit of it, and we deserve more. But the Most High is merciful on us not to give us the full-fledged punishment for the actions that we deserve to get. And somehow, Simon the Just, the high priest, was able to get our people to lock into that mindset and to understand what this is really about. And because he got the people to be conscious of that and to start praying and to start being conscious of what it takes to please the Heavenly Father, the Most High listened to their prayers and did what? Remove them from slavery. He's telling you how to get out of slavery, or how to get out of a bad condition, or how to get out of a condition that you're in. It's first to acknowledge that you got yourself in it, and the result of your negative should have been worse.
Accountability.
God. If we learn to see it that way, then you can truly grow. Learn from your mistakes. Then the Most High will give you pity. Why would he give you pity when you're walking around here saying that life is unfair? Saying that what I've gone through is not fair. You're saying it's unfair, but it was really lighter. It was a lighter sentence than what it should have been. And the Most High is sitting back here like, these guys don't get it. They don't realize I'm taking it light on them. This is the thinking. That's the number one thinking Israel has to get out of their head. The victim mentality. Why am I suffering this way? Why is everything I'm doing so difficult, so hard? Why can't I never catch a break? Maybe you haven't put the works in long enough to deserve a break. Maybe you have to be appreciative for what you do get, for the little reprieves in time you get, for the great levels of mercy he's given you. The crazy thing is we walk in class and think because we're in class we're spiritual and we're a bunch of do-gooders. And because we're a bunch of do-gooders, we deserve something back. Because we do good. But we never focus on doing bad. The funny thing, I was watching this thing on
what we do bad.
Well, I was going to explain it with a little more detail. There was this little there was a basketball player, on Instagram. He was being interviewed, and he was talking to this young guy. And if the young guy only looks at his highlight tapes when he does good at, he only looks at this good film. And the guy was like, "Listen, man, you ever look at your mistakes on the court?" He's like, "Why do I do that? Why would I was looking at the highlight tapes." He's like, "You can't learn from stuff you already do good. The only way you're going to learn is by looking at your mistakes on the film to make your adjustments. You have to learn to look at what you don't do right so you can improve." Now, even that makes sense on an athletic level, right? But why can't we do that in our own life? Just with the lens of, damn, the Most High, because I've made these mistakes so many times, the Most High had enough love for me to keep giving me opportunities to figure this out. Isn't that the greatest love the Lord could give us? But the problem is we look at the nations and we're so focused on being envious on all the opportunities they get. The funny thing is, if we can understand that the scriptures weren't meant for them and that they are a law unto themselves, we can pull those verses all damn day long, right? Romans 2 and 14. The nations are a law unto themselves. Well, then why can't we understand that? Because we know better. He's going to sit back here and meet a higher rate of measurement and responsibility on us. And because we're not living up to that responsibility, he's got to correct us. But even in the midst of correction, it's mercy and love. Because whatever he's given to you in your life, it could have been worse. And we don't meditate on that enough. We're not thankful.
Yep.
All we are is ungrateful and unappreciative.
Hateful.
And hateful.
And it's hateful.
Hateful and ungrateful. That's when black folks start rhyming at. Hateful and ungrateful. It's the truth. But that's what happens to us. And we wonder why the Most High keeps that relationship between us and him at a distance. Because you ain't figured it out. The Most High is giving us the answers to the test right here. Read that verse again, 22.
Ecclesiastes chapter 50 and verse 22. Oh. Now therefore blessed be the power of all, which only doeth wondrous things everywhere.
First of all, is the acknowledgement that he only does, he says, he only does wondrous things everywhere. So even the punishments he's putting us through is a wondrous work. Because the intention behind putting us through these challenging scenarios is to get us to cleave to him. This is what cleaving to him looks like. Cleaving to him is the acknowledgement that, man, whatever I'm going through, it could have been worse. And the Most High did me a solid not to turn his back on me all the way. Let me get closer to him. Because he's given me a break. And everything around me has been tailored to protect me from destroying myself. And the reality is,
for my benefit.
The reality is, the difficult things that we're experiencing is forcing us to stay more on point than the way we would have been without these difficulties in our life. It's a wondrous work. He's always doing wondrous works around us, and the acknowledgement of that brings us peace. We done.
Which exalteth our days from the womb.
Brother, everything he's putting us through is really created to give us longer life. He's exalting our days from the womb. Through adversity. Didn't the Moses say he nourishes us with what? He nourishes us with discipline. That's how he feeds us. That's how he gives us the tools to grow. It's with all the suffering that we have to endure.
But it's positive suffering.
It's suffering because it leads you to a purpose.
Because
he says all of the Most High's works are wondrous. Even the works that he puts on us that are uncomfortable or painful.
We're not suffering to detriment. We're suffering to benefit.
But
it's chastising the son.
It's a different. But you see how psychologically you have to look at life from a completely different scope. What's sad is we think like Edomites. Because this is why the white man says, man, I need another book of understanding for this shit. This don't make no sense. The idea that the suffering we're going through are the Most High's wondrous works, and that everything he's putting us through, good and bad, is an example of the Most High's mercy, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make SAT, ACT, logical thinking sense. Does it? That's why Esau like, I need another book to understand this. But because we're in such a diminished state, we need to hear these classes like 50, 60 times before it starts to stick. Man, I understand finally. After 750 shows. Now it makes sense.
You know, to the extent of the nations' understanding of the Most High, they when something bad happened to them, they would just consider, man, we angered the gods.
Yep.
You know, Zeus must be angry. Athena must be angry.
Yep.
You know, so we gotta appease the gods. You know, for favor. Yeah, they look at it as a bad omen. The gods must be angry, but they don't understand the one God mentality, the Most High Creator of all, thinking that, you know what, the situation that I'm in, even though it's uncomfortable, it is the Most High showing me mercy. He could have destroyed me.
Kinda.
In Romans chapter 9, verse 20.
Romans chapter 9 and verse 20. Nay, but O man.
They said, nay, oh man, read.
Who art thou that repliest against the Most High?
Because it's easy to say, well, you know, God, why are you putting me in this situation? Why are you putting me in a situation where I'm suffering like this? Why are you putting me in a situation where, you know, it feels like, you know, I'm unsupported, I'm alone, I'm struggling, I'm without help, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
Why'd you make me this person? Why'd you make me this way and put me in this situation? Why'd you bring me across these circumstances? Read on.
Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus?
Yeah, but when we question the Most High, we get angry with the Most High because we don't like our scenario. Read on.
Hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor?
It says, but we got to understand that although we may be catching a little hell, we're still the vessels of what?
Honor.
We're still the vessels of honor. The Most High has preference over his children than over the nations. But will the Most High suffer the nations? He will. But he still made us vessels of honor, more respectable in his sight. Read on.
And another unto dishonor?
Which we know is the nations. Read.
What if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endureth with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction?
So is the Most High wrong if he has patience and mercy and he lets our enemies have the upper hand over us and have a better life? Is the Most High wrong because my life stinks? But I look at the other nations. They don't have a respect. They don't have a knowledge of the Most High. They may not have a fear of the Most High, but their lives seems to be doing much better than mine. Is the Most High wrong for that too? Go ahead.
And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy.
It says, but he said all the Most High is doing is giving. The Most High is fair across the board. It's not for us to be angry about our situation.
No.
And it's not for us to be angry because we see other people that may not serve the Most High or honor the Most High have better lives than us. We still got to recognize we're still those vessels of honor. And if their lives are a little bit better, he's just showing them a little bit more mercy. But it's not for us to question the Most High and be angry about slavery and be angry about our scenario. The scriptures say, surely oppression make a wise man mad. But that shouldn't come between our relationship with the Father. And what we're reading is these men, even in the midst of being taken from Babylon, overthrown, brought captivity by the Persians, overthrown by the Greeks, they still got a positive outlook towards the Most High.
Yeah.
And that's critical.
So listen, let's continue in this verse 23. We're going to read verse 22 again, 23 and 24.
Ecclesiastes chapter 50 and verse 22. Now therefore bless ye the power of all, which only doeth wondrous things everywhere,
Yeah, Leah.
which exalteth our days from the womb, and dealeth with us according to his mercy.
He deals with us according to his mercy. The problem is we don't like how he distributes mercy.
Yeah.
We don't like his mercy. When we don't realize all righteousness is like what? Filthy rags. All of our works are filthy. All of our works are unclean. So whatever result he has for our works, the issue, it could have been way worse than what it is. And if you learn this type of thinking, if you learn to understand that everything he puts us through is a merciful scenario, then what happens to you? Read the next verse.
He grant us joyfulness of heart.
That's how you learn
He
joy.
grants us joyfulness of heart.
He'll give you the spirit of joy once you accept how the Most High puts you together. And how you, if you learn how to accept the Most High's form of mercy, then you can find happiness. But for everybody who never learns to accept the Most High's mercy and learn what that looks like, and learns how to sit back and navigate through difficult times and still see it as the Most High giving you a lighter sentence than what you deserve, then he grants you the spirit of a happy heart. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Read verse 23 again.
Verse 23. He grant us joyfulness of heart, and that peace may be in our days in Israel forever.
He's telling you the key to finding peace is to accept that the conditions the Most High's got you in is still mercy. And that the Most High will pull you out of whatever condition you're in if you learn mercy first. If you learn to value how the Most High distributes mercy. If you can learn how the Most High distributes mercy for you, you'll find happiness and joyfulness of heart. Read on.
That he would confirm his mercy with us.
That's the point. He confirms his mercy. Once you learn how to operate and see the good in the Lord, eventually you'll see the blessing. But you have to accept how he does things. And accept that whatever difficulties you're facing, bro, you deserve worse. Sis, you deserve worse. And that's how the Most High daily loads us with benefits. It could be way worse if the Most High is handcrafting your affliction based off of a lighter sentence than what you should get.
Thanks.
Read on.
And deliver us at his time.
He delivers us at his time. But if you learn how to see him the right way, you'll learn how to wait long enough to see the good come from him. But you got to learn to wait. You got to learn to see him in the proper lighting and appreciate that whatever you're going through, you deserve worse. Hold on to that mindset. And on the back end, you'll be able to confirm his mercy by seeing him come through for you in a great way. Read on.
2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. That's an excellent point.
2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 18. While we look not at the things which are seen.
He said, while we look not at the things which are what?
Are seen.
Because what we do, we focus on what?
What we see.
What causes us to get out the spirit?
But at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal.
It said we're too busy caught up in the things because the situation that we're in doesn't look too good. Not recognizing that every situation that you're in that's not so favorable to you, it's only what?
Temporal.
Which is what?
Temporary.
It's only temporary. Every bad scenario is only temporary. Every pitfall, setback, whatever the circumstance may be that's got you irate, irritated, disbelieving, upset, not so happy, depressed. Man, all these things are what? It's just for a season. It's just for a time. Everything's temporary. we got to stop looking at the things that you see with your two eyes, because that'll get you out the spirit. Read.
But the things which are not seen.
It said, but the things that you don't see is the Most High working on the back end that we're talking about here in Ecclesiastes chapter 50, waiting on the Most High's deliverance. We don't see the Most High coming through in different ways and how he distributes his mercy to us. We just get caught up in the fact that I don't like my scenario right now. I don't like what I'm going through right now. You can't focus on right now. You can't look at what's happening with you today and I'm just so down and I'm so depressed and distorted because, look, I don't see any good in my situation. Currently. You can't do that. We got to learn how to start focus on what the Most High, the bigger picture. What is the Most High doing in the background, the things that I don't see? What is he doing for me that is not easily visible? Read on.
But the things which are not seen are eternal.
He said, but the Most High is trying to put me in an eternal situation where eternally I thrive. I thrive for eternity, not in a conditional setting, a temporary setting. And we let the conditions remove us from being faithful and keeping our eyes on what the Most High has us going through, the bigger picture. We never see the bigger picture because the current scenario sucks. The current situation stinks. I don't like where I live. I don't like the food choices I got. I don't like the money I make. I don't like the people around me. I don't like my job. I don't like the car I drive. I don't like if I even have a car. I don't like nothing. I don't like nothing. And not realizing, man, everything that's unfavorable is temporary.
And what people don't understand is everything you're suffering is going to prepare you for that desert. Everything you're going through is going to prepare you for what you need to get to the kingdom. That's the favor he does for us. All the suffering and the loss prepares you for when it really matters.
Yep. And so this is the Most High. This is the Most High working for us in an arena that we just don't see because it just doesn't look good. You got to stop using physical eyes to perceive the Most High's judgment. We got to stop doing that. We got to look at the Most High works. He works in the invisible. In St. John 4 and 23, it says what?
St. John chapter 4 and verse 23. St. John chapter 4 and verse 23.
Hold on.
It's
Yeah.
22?
No. 24 first.
1 John chapter 4 and verse 24. The Most High is a spirit.
Can you see him with your two eyes?
No.
Because the Most High is a what?
Spirit.
Can you see the Most High spirit? No. He said the Most High is a spirit. Read on.
And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
So the way you worship the Most High is in what?
Spirit.
The spirit.
I have to believe that he's there. I gotta believe that he's there. I have to believe he's available to me.
He's not a lucky rabbit's foot. He's not
a talisman.
He's not a talisman. He's not some type of lucky object I can just rub a couple times and make a wish. He's not a genie in a bottle. He's not your personal genie to give you what you want when you want it.
Yep.
He's supposed to be within you in mentality. And then we're going to be with him in mental form also. If our heart stays on him. The scripture says.
Yep. Now read verse 23.
Verse 23. But the hour cometh.
It said, but the time is now. He said, the hour cometh, the time is now. Read.
And now is.
And now is. Read.
When the true worshipers.
It says, when the true worshipers are not worshiping the Most High based on the conditions that they're in.
Okay.
Whether they're favorable to me or not, then I believe in the Most High if you give me what I want.
So you're saying that's how we think. We only think if I get ABC, then I'll serve you?
Because then I can acknowledge that the Most High is real. Then the Most High is valid when I see him come through for me for what I asked for.
So if I get this transaction, then I'll serve you.
Yeah, exactly. It's condition based. Read.
When the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth.
It says that time is now for the Most High. The Most High is waiting for us to worship in that sense of not just being able to look at the things that are temporary. Don't worry about the temporary. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what the current condition you're in right now. That doesn't dictate where the Most High is going to set us at. Read on.
For the Father seeketh.
It says, what is the Most High looking for?
For the Father seeketh such to worship him.
It says the Most High is looking for us to worship him in faith, in belief, not using temporary eyes. The Most High is waiting on us to mature enough to where we don't quantify the Lord based on material things or a material setting or earthly setting. The Most High said he's seeking such to worship him in the fact that even though I'm in a bad situation right now, I know the Most High is still with me. That's what the Most High is waiting on. Now go back to Ecclesiastes 50.
Read 24 again.
Yeah, we're at 24. Now we're in 25.
25. I was going to bring one point about that. Read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 50 and verse 25. There be two manner of nations which my heart abhorreth.
So he's telling you, after all these lessons about understanding the Spirit and understanding how to follow and serve the Most High, read on.
And the third is no nation.
Mm-hmm.
They that sit upon the mountain of Samaria.
Samaria is not that word when you get the definition of it. That Samaria is Mount Seir.
So that's a message.
That's a message. And he's letting us, it's got to be coded. Why is it got to be coded? Because this is during the time of the Greeks. So he's like, listen, like he can't stand this nation of people because they don't understand the Spirit. They don't understand the ways of the Most High.
So we know who dwell in Mount Seir.
Thank you. The same people that is in charge of them at the time. Now you know why they're saying that they're coding it in that way.
Onias was ahead of the game.
Yes, no, well, don't forget, that was Simon.
Yeah.
And the person who wrote this was Jesus, the son of Sirach. Yes, because it tells you that at the end of that chapter that it was Jesus, son of Sirach, wrote this about Simon.
Yeah.
And Jesus, son of Sirach, this apocrypha was written around 175 BC. So it was like 11 to like 13 some odd years before the abomination of desolation. But he's saying, listen, Most High can't stand Esau. He can't stand the Greeks. And we've read this in multiple chapters that the Greeks were the Idumeans. He broke that down during explaining Haman. Haman was an Agagite, but he was also a Greek. So he leaves just enough information to say, hey, these Edomites, they don't understand the Spirit, and the Most High can't stand them. But keep going.
Hold on 1 second.
I had to go out there and stop what I was doing to bring that up.
Yeah, I want to get this 1 point on that. Give me that Genesis.
36.
Yeah, 36. You know exactly what I'm going through. Huh? Yep, 36. Read verse 1 and then verse 8 and 9. And then we're going to go back to what the war brought up in verse 25.
Okay. Genesis chapter 36 and verse 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom.
So Esau is the father of who? The Edomite nation. He's father of the Edomites. Jump down to verse 8 and 9.
Verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau.
And Esau, thus dwelt Esau, the father of the Edomite nation. Read.
In Mount Seir.
So where did Esau dwell?
Mount Seir.
So as we read this in the translation, or we're saying that in the Greek, it says they that sit upon the mountains. He says there be two nations, or two manner of nations which my heart abhorreth, and the third is no nation. He says they that sit upon the mountain of Samaria. If he's saying that translation is Mount Seir,
yes.
Who dwells in Mount Seir? Read.
Back to Genesis.
Yeah, verse 9.
Verse 8 or verse 9. Verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom.
Go ahead.
And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir.
So he's showing you that in Samaria or Mount Seir dwells what people?
Edomites.
The Edomites. So now let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 50.
Can I read one thing real quick?
God.
This is the HarperCollins Study Bible, right? And this is right here in Sirach 50 and verse 26. It says, this is their breakdown of it. The detested nations are those that border Judea in the south, quote unquote Seir, the west Philistines, and the north Shechem.
Shechem is who?
Check.
It was those fake Israelites
Yeah.
that claimed to be the Jews.
It was an alternative form of version, off-brand form of the temple worship.
First and foremost, it was those Persians who called themselves Jews when it was to their advantage, and it was Israelites who ran from the law and the correction of their own people to hide up there in Mount Gerizim. That's where Mount Shechem.
And they received the financing to do so, by the Greeks, and they begged the Greeks to sustain them
and to help build that temple
and to build the temple up.
Yep. So he said all those people don't understand the spirit and don't understand the way the Most High deals with us.
Because in Shechem they look at position.
Yep.
They look at the Most High as he's with whoever's in charge.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's why they set up a fake altar.
Yep.
And that's why even Christ said, he said the Gentiles exercise lordship. He said the Gentiles exercise. He said the Gentiles exercise lordship. Can we get that real quick? I believe that's a Luke.
Can we get this?
I want you to finish this. Yeah, but after that, I'd get that.
Exactly. Not to say that we're just saying some stuff. It says they detest the nations are those that border Judea in the south, which is Seir, the west, which is Philistines, and the north, which is Shechem. But they are referred to by archaic designations. Those who live in Seir were the Edomites, known in Ben Sira's time as Idumeans.
Yeah, it is right there.
Shechem was the old center of the northern kingdom and a euphemism for Samaria in Ben Sira's time.
Wow.
The Philistines were the ancient occupants of the land and enemies during the time of the judges and early kings. Ben Sira probably alludes to the Hellenistic cities along the seacoast. Hellenistic cities along the seacoast.
Who are the Hellenes?
Come on, bro.
Let's get the Zondervan Bible Dictionary.
Yeah, Zondervan.
So we understand who the Hellenes are.
That's the pictorial. I don't know if you got the classic.
Just the original. If anybody got the OG one, because he's telling you who the Hellenes are. Let's get the. That's a great point. I want you to read that again, Dawia, because that's excellent.
But it's just not, brothers.
It's pinpointing Esau, but with a different name.
Hellenist?
Yeah, or Greeks. It says Greece. Greece, yeah, or Grecians. You should say. It says Greece or Grecians.
Yeah. Greek.
Yeah. It says Greece. It says the home of Hellenes.
It says the Greece is the home of who?
Hellenes.
The Hellenes.
What?
Yeah, so we talking about the Hellenes in Idumea. He's talking about who? The Greeks. The Greeks are the Edomites. The Greeks are Edomites.
Yeah.
It says the home of the Hellenes. Read.
Greeks and Grecians, however, are to be distinguished.
It says, but there's a difference between the actual Greeks and the Grecians. Who is the Grecians?
Says Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race.
It said the Greeks are the Hellenes or Hellenic race. Read on.
Greeks were Greek-speaking Jews.
And Grecians are who?
Greek-speaking Jews.
So you had Jews that were either taken by slavery or that were migrated to Alexandria or to Greek empires. It wasn't just in Alexandria. There was Jews that were migrated all the way to Athens and other areas of Greece, Thrace, Bithynia. But he's showing you how you had a population of Grecians who were Greek-speaking Jews. They were not Hellenes by nationality. So read what you got again, Dawiyat.
We're reading out the HarperCollins Study Bible. All right. Not SOT study Bible, okay? The Society of Biblical Literature. It says, chapter 50, verse 26. The detested nations are those that border Judea in the south, quote unquote, Seir, the west, Philistines, and the north, Shechem. And who was Shechem?
Shechem was an off-brand group of Israelites that were financed by the Greeks to set up a fake altar with fake priests and do a fake form of worship, as long as they were able to be married in politically with the elite of the Greeks
And
and the
who does that
Samaritans.
sound like our people today? It's the sellouts of Israel who play spiritual just for some type of financial benefit. They do it in every facet of spirituality in our nation. If it's Christianity, if it's Islam, it's all to get in with Caesar and to get some money. Right? It says Shechem. But they are referred by archaic designations. Those who live in Seir were the Edomites,
Yep.
known in Ben Sira's time as Idumeans. Shechem was the old center of the northern kingdom and a euphemism for Syria in Ben Sira's time. The Philistines were the ancient occupants of the land and enemies during the time of the judges.
They say also that Shechem was a safe haven for those that didn't want to follow the laws all the way. So if you wanted to be pseudo-spiritual and you didn't want to follow the laws all the way and be incriminated in Jerusalem, you could go to Shechem, still look like you're spiritual, still look like you're holy without following all the laws. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I need to go back just a little bit. You said that the Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews.
Yes.
So were they Jews?
Yes.
Okay, I have
That
a question.
spoke Greek,
But they were Israelites.
but they were Israelites.
Okay, my question is
But it says they were to be distinguished or separated from Greeks. You have the Greeks, then you have the Grecians. Greeks are the Hellenes or the Idumeans. Grecians are transplants. These are Greek-speaking Jews. These are Jews that have been either brought into Greek through immigration during the time of Alexander, when he opened up immigration, or Ptolemy Soter, when he immigrated a lot of Jews and Egyptians and Samaritans also into Greek societies to be the labor force. And I want to get into that too in just a minute, because the Greeks looked at labor as an untouchable thing. Let me go ahead and then I want to ask you a question. Remind me to bring that up, because it's imperative to know why they were bringing this mass of other nations into their society, because they didn't want to work. The Greeks were allergic to work.
because Joel, you know what it says in Joel. My question was this.
Mm-hmm.
Remember in Joel it says that the Grecians shall taking us. It says the Grecians shall take us into captivity. Maybe it was. Did it say the Greeks or the Grecians? But
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Well, Israelites in captivity.
Yeah.
We shall
Right.
go into captivity with the Grecians.
Right,
I
but
have to find that scripture.
but he's showing that in this time, a lot of our people were being pulled from Israel and the Levant to take place in Greek societies. But why? Why were they taking us into these societies? Why did they bring us in by masses into slavery? Why did they promote immigration to the Greek cities? I'm gonna show you why.
Like they do now.
Yeah.
What's the number one argument now? If you're into politics, I love politics. I can't help it. It's like Super Bowl for me, bro. I come to life. But all Trump talks about is deportation and stronger borders. And the opposition, all they talk about is what? Having open borders and bringing in a new workforce. The Greeks have not changed. The same thing going on now was the same thing going on what? Then. They're opening the borders then to do what? Get laborers. But why? Because they don't want to do it. If you come from Egypt and you have a slave master, don't you have to speak his language? You're not finna get paid like you need to get paid if you don't speak English. That's the problem with people that come across the border.
Be able to understand.
They don't know the language enough to get better wages. They can play the game better if they have the language down. So it behooves you to learn your slave master's language so you can get paid better. Yes, sir.
Just like how Hellenes are the Greeks. The Hellenist is a suffix that means a particular follower of a certain philosophy or practice or system.
Yeah.
So the Jews who spoke the Greek tongue were also known as the Hellenists because they chose to follow their particular practice and philosophy.
Yeah. We're converting. We're assimilating.
Right.
What's that book that we always read about from Babylon to Timbuktu?
Mm-hmm.
It said Israel went into Africa,
Right.
and we end up having our own society.
Right.
But then down the line, we started to do what? Assimilate with other tribes and assimilate with the nations wherever we went. Israel hasn't just assimilated with the Greeks. We assimilate with everybody. If you go to the east, we become Moab. If you go to Africa, we become Hamites. If you deal with Esau, we become Negro Edomites. We do, don't we? Don't we like foreign women? Isn't our nation like that? Foreign, right? What are we always doing? We're always finding some type of way to assimilate. Yes, sir.
And with that, we have, sellouts and we exploit our people. So if you just think about what Black was saying, like the Grecians sell, well, we sell out our own people.
You have your LeBron James of that time period. You have your LeBron James and your Jesse Jacksons and all your Oprah Winfreys. You have your Barack Obamas of that time too. It's all about the power dynamic. They're not looking about the most. It's not about the Most High. It's about the power dynamic and resources. So how do you become a part of the power dynamic? You have to learn the language of the strongest society, of the master, quote unquote, the managerial class. What's the better term for it? You have to learn the language and get the education of the leading society, the more dominant society. If it was Chinese, I remember this. When Chinese, a couple years ago, about maybe 10 years ago, China was coming up and looking really strong. And then the rappers, in particular Jay-Z, started saying, learn Mandarin if you have to. That was the direction that people that were in power, that were black, were going. They're saying you have to learn Mandarin. Why would they say that? It's not just about serving the Edomites, it's about serving whoever's in power and assimilating to get personal benefits. Like who? Who in the scriptures remind us that? Who had the Babylonian garment?
Acad.
Acad. Why did Acad do it?
We envied you.
Because he envied the nations. Scripture says what? You're not supposed to envy what? Your oppressor. Nor take any of his what?
Wait.
His ways. What does Israel do? We envy our oppressors. We take on their ways. If it's Arab, we become Arabic. And we envy them and then we emulate them. If it's Greeks, we become Greek. And we envy them and we emulate them. To the point where we end up doing what? Becoming uncircumcised. Literally. We had a whole class about that. There was pictures showing Israel becoming physically uncircumcised. How bad do you have to be to want to imitate that bad to where you uncircumcise yourself? We went to the gymnasiums where it was men bucket naked walking around oily, working out. Why were they doing that? When you read the details of it, it says because business transactions were being done where? In the gymnasiums. So men will change their sensuality, men will change their physicality, men will change their spirituality to what? Get benefits. What about Sanballat? When we were building our own temple, what happened? How many Jews were trying to do backdoor deals with Sanballat that put the temple in jeopardy of not getting completed? That put Jeremiah in jeopardy of being killed and assassinated by the nations. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all what? Evil. So because our people love money, because the class we're talking about was Israel is unhappy because they don't have physical material possessions to quantify that they have a relationship with God. I.e., I want to use God to get physical benefits so I can feel good in my life. And it's not truly about the true worship of the true power or the invisible power. Right. So what are we saying? We're dealing with the Greeks. We're dealing with the Grecians. They're two separate parties. They're two separate people. They're not the same. But that's Israel assimilating to the culture, becoming that culture, but God has a problem with that.
Now, Dr. Hive, you can read this for me real quick. Come this way and read this for me. I want you to read from here, who does all the work, and then stop at where it says, somebody. Yeah, read that right there. No, that was right. That was on point. Yeah. Read that. And why were the Greeks into immigration and bringing other nations into the Greek society so quickly? Read that.
Free men and slaves.
A free man is somebody that bought their freedom. You can ransom yourself out of slavery. Read.
Who does all this work? In the countryside, it is done by the citizens, their families, and free hired men.
So if you're in the country, the family does the work like a farmer, and then you got free men that do the work in the farming, the agricultural places. But in the metropolitans, in the city states of Greek society, read on.
In Athens, it is done partly by citizens, partly by freed men, more by metics, mostly.
Medics are people that were brought in that are foreigners. This is a foreign labor force. Just like you got all the Venezuelans coming up from the border right now. They go to Home Depot and you got about 15, 20 people standing outside every Home Depot. These are foreign laborers that are brought into the Greek society. Read on.
Partly by freed men, more by metics, mostly by slaves.
It said most of the work in Greece was done by who?
By slaves.
Read on.
The shopkeepers, artisans,
all your store workers, your artisans, all your goldsmiths, your iron workers, your leather workers, your wood workers, your craftsmen. Go ahead.
Merchants,
all your salesmen, all your business, your laborers. They were done by who?
Slaves.
Go ahead.
And bankers.
Go ahead.
Come almost entirely from the voteless classes.
And if you were a slave, you were never able to what?
Vote.
You were never allowed to vote.
The voteless classes.
You were voteless. You were not allowed to vote as a slave in Greece.
And that makes sense because why are you going to vote when you don't determine the economy of the society? You were just labor.
Yep. Read.
The burgher.
The burgher is the upper class. Read.
Looks down upon manual labor.
And it says the upper class in Greece, they look down on what?
Manual labor.
Did the Greeks want to work? Hell no, they didn't want to get their hands dirty. So we got to get these immigrants in here. We got to get them Jews in here. We got to get them slaves in here. We got them Samaritans in here. We got to get them Egyptians in here. Read.
And does as little of it as he may.
Go ahead.
To work for a livelihood.
It says to work for a living, like we do. We work for a living. Read.
Is considered ignoble.
Ignoble, meaning it's absence of nobility. It's unnoble. There's no dignity in working for a living in the Greek mentality. The Greek mind looks at you working a job day to day to survive and feed your family. That was frowned upon as something that's a man with no mind would do. A man with no brain would do. Because they're going to show. Remember, Ward brought the scripture up earlier. He says the Jews require a sign, but the Greeks seek after what? Wisdom. They wanted to occupy themselves with study and philosophy and war.
Yeah, you're right.
Read on.
Even the professional practice of teaching of music.
Even if you were a music teacher, you were looked at as a low-budget person in society. What else?
Sculpture.
Even if you were a sculptor, you were looked at as low budget. Read.
Or painting is accounted by many Greeks a mean occupation.
That's a low base occupation. To be a painter is actually good money in our society. But if we were in the Greek culture right now, if you were a painter and you had paint on your clothes, man, nobody want to touch you. You're of little value in a Greek society.
You're not a high value man.
No, man, not a high value man. Hell no. What kind of work you got? Kevin Samuels come out. Go ahead.
Here, blunt Xenophon, who speaks, however, as a proud member of the knightly class.
And this is classism bigger than racism. Classism was bigger in Greek society than racism. And this is going to give you an actual speech of somebody from the knightly class. Read.
The base mechanic arts.
He said if you were a mechanic, they called you what?
Base.
You were a base man. You were a low-level man if you were a mechanic. Actually, people go to school for mechanics nowadays. But if you were in Greek culture, you were looked at as a low-level object in society. Read.
The base mechanic arts, so called, are held in ill repute.
Ill repute.
By civilized communities.
So you weren't civilized if you had a mechanic job. You weren't civilized. Read.
And not unreasonably, seeing they are the ruin of the body.
It says the Greeks looked at you that if you do a job that destroys your body,
Right.
you are a low-level individual. So to the Greeks, what would we be?
Oh,
What would we be if we were alive in a Greek society right now?
base.
Base, low-level, ill-reputed individuals. Not worthy of respect. Because we got jobs that wear the body out. Read.
Seeing they are the ruin of the bodies of all concerned in them,
Go ahead.
workers and overseers alike.
It says supervisors and the worker is looked at as low level. Even if you managed the mechanics, you were still looked at as low level. Even if you managed the laborers, you were looked at as low level. Being a manager of a low level occupation in Greek society, you still wouldn't get no respect. Read.
Who are forced to remain in sitting postures.
It said because you got to sit all day. So everybody that got a sit down job and you got to sit in front of that computer, even though you may have the ergonomic keyboard and you got the ergonomic chair that helps you sit your back and your posture upright, and you work from home and you got the internet going and you got the ergonomic keyboard and mouse. He said you were still looked at as what?
Base.
You still looked at as
Small
base.
potatoes.
You're a non-factor. Read on.
Wow.
Who are forced to remain in sitting postures.
It says you were forced to remain in a what?
Sitting postures.
So when you got a sit down job, nowadays you got the people that got the keyboard that can elevate and you can stand up and do your job. Now you can stand up and type, but you still got to be at the computer.
And some people have little walking machines now. They little
pedometer under the table.
Yeah, and you can walk and like do your work in place.
That's to break the monotony and the fact that there's no circulation coming behind your legs.
Fact.
So even having a sit down job, we be happy to get a sit down, stand up job.
That's a blessing.
But in Greek, and if we were in the Greek culture, man, you got a job that got you stuck at a computer or stuck at a desk or stuck in an office. Read on.
Or to hug the gloom.
They call that job to do what?
Hug the gloom.
It says that low level job means you're hugging the gloom. You're hugging the gloom. A lot of us have jobs where we feel like we're hugging the gloom.
Esau to this day kind of has that same concept. And you see it on TV, they make a joke about it.
Yeah.
Dealing with cubicles. You know, those show that they're so depressed within these little cubicles and little squares out. This is going crazy in these cubicles.
Yeah. Hugging the gloom.
They're hugging the gloom.
But that's what he's saying. He said this is a real report showing how they look down on people that had mediocre occupations. Mm-hmm. Read on.
Or else to crouch whole days confronting a furnace.
Or you got to stand in front of the oven.
That's tough.
Or a fire all day. You were looked at as a low-level base person in the Greek society.
Like a baker or a welder or something.
Yeah, worker. Anybody that's cooking, heating up a flame. Blacksmith, cook. To waste your body away in the flame is a waste of life. Glass artisan, blowing glass. Read on.
Hand in hand with physical innervation.
Or if you got to work hand to hand on a machine. You got to operate a machine or you got to operate
factory work.
Some type of industry work. It says you were still looked at as low level. Read on.
Hand in hand with physical innervation follows apace an enfeebling of soul.
It says it weakens your soul in the idea. The Most High said, "Hate not laborious works, for the Most High hath ordained them." This is how you know the Greeks didn't understand the spirit. The Most High said, "If a man don't work, he don't what? He don't eat." We look at work differently than the Esau do, especially the Greeks. The Most High said, "Don't hate laborious works, because the Most High ordained laborious works." Well, the Greeks hated and they disdained laborious work. That's how you know they don't understand the spirit of the Most High. Read on.
While the demand which these base mechanic arts make on the time of those employed in them, leaves them no leisure.
It says the reason why they look down on workers, it says because it leaves them no time for what?
No leisure to devote to the claims of friendship and estate.
Because family, friends, vacation, leveraging your time is important to the Greeks. Leveraging time. Be your own boss. Take a vacation when you want to take a vacation. You got to dedicate your time to leisure. And what else? Read.
And friendship and estate. Trade is similarly scorned.
And if you were a trader, you were still looked down on. Why?
To the aristocrat or philosophical Greek, it is merely money making.
You're only making money. So if, in our time, we hustling. Our people hustle to survive. But if you're hustling to survive and you're bartering and exchanging and you work a sales job and you work a commission based job where you get paid off commission.
Yep.
If you have a commission based job, they said that was a low level job because your concern is only about money. Read on.
To the aristocratic or philosophical Greek, it is merely money making at the expense of others.
It says you're only making money off other people, so they look down on you. Not looking at you like, man, I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to earn and make an honest living.
Right.
Read on.
It aims not to create goods, but to buy them cheap.
To buy them cheap. Go ahead.
And sell them dear.
And sell them high. Read.
Buy low.
Sell high. Yeah. That's not a new concept. But you would look down on if you bought products cheap and try to put a profit on the product. Read.
No respectable citizen.
It says they looked down on us and said, no respectable citizen. Go ahead.
Will engage in it.
It says, no respectable citizen will engage in sales.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's how they look. Because you're only hustling. Your mind is on money all day. That's all you care about. So you're a low budget person. This is what I'm saying. This is why they was so quick to immigrate us into their culture. They weren't going to do no work. How do you think we got to America now?
Right.
They begged for us to come through.
Man, they put us on them boats, on them slave ships, and brought us over here by the hundreds. They said I forgot the number, but they said it was over 150,000 trips back and forth from Africa to America. Boat trips. Wow. Crazy. You know why? Because they weren't going to do no work. Once they got Issachar to work, Issachar died off with the smallpox. Who's going to be the next labor force? We got to bring labor force over here. America did it. I mean, Gad, and Issachar. Both killed them off.
They couldn't deal with the first dirty Edomites.
Yeah, their bodies couldn't handle the syphilis and the smallpox. But who else they're going to bring to do the labor that they look down upon? That's how we got in the first place. Same thing in Greece. Read.
No respectable citizen will engage in it, though he may quietly invest in it and profit from it so long as he let others do the work.
It says the Greeks, they'll invest into your business, but they're not touching the work. Only if you make money. They'll invest into you, but they're not doing the work. They'll just give you some money, but they want a return on their money, but they're not touching no work.
I'm an angel investor.
An angel investor, yep. Silent partner.
He ain't trying to do nothing.
Yeah. Silent partner. They're not touching no work, bro. It's your idea. You run with it. Here's a couple of dollars, but give me mine back times 10. Give me mine back with interest. Read on. Finish that.
A free man, says the Greek, must be free from economic tasks.
It says if you're a free man in a Greek society, you have to be free from economic tasks, meaning your concern is not making money all day. Read.
He must get slaves.
It says you got to get what?
Slaves.
It says in order to be free, the idea of freedom in a Greek society is you have to have what?
He must get slaves.
Slaves are mandatory.
So this is the basically religious philosophy of the slave master. If we go to the mind of a slave master, which are Greeks, this is how they think.
This is one of our slave masters in time. Yeah. Showing you how, specifically Esau.
Yeah.
Idumea. He said we have to have slaves are mandatory.
They get rap. They get a robot. They'll make a robot. They'll do. They get
Yeah.
they'll do what they got to do.
Yeah. Read.
He must get slaves or others to attend to his material concerns, even if he can, to take care of his property and his fortune.
I need slaves to oversee my wealth. I need slaves to oversee my property, manage it, to sustain it. What else?
Only by such liberation can he find time.
It says you have to have slaves. If you don't have slaves, you can never have time for what?
Only by such liberation can he find time for government.
It says you can only run a government and have time for politics if you have slaves. That's why you look at all the forefathers of America, they all possess what?
Slaves.
They all had slaves.
Yeah.
So that they can let somebody else, a lower class, be subjected to labor work while they make decisions and write constitutions. That was a Greek ideal. You need slaves so that you can focus on government. What else?
War.
You got. It wasn't until Lincoln, during the Emancipation Proclamation, freed the slaves to participate in war. But before that, they didn't want us in their wars. Read.
Literature.
You got to focus on literature, writing. I can't write what I want to write unless I got some slaves cooking my food at the house. What else?
And philosophy.
And I don't have time to study how the mind works if I don't have some slaves. So it's showing you how critical the Greeks were in order to function as a whole. They solely depended on slavery to sustain their empire. Who does that sound like? Once I said there's nothing new under the sun. But go ahead.
Without a leisure class, there can be, in the Greek view, no standards of taste.
It says if we don't keep pushing for philosophy, literature, arts, then the world won't have taste. If we leave it up to these guys, they don't understand what taste is. What else?
No encouragement of the arts.
Nobody will care about the arts, about theater and music. Go ahead.
No civilization.
And it says we will have no civilization. This is basically what trickle-down economics is. If the rich control the wealth, eventually it'll trickle down and benefit the rest of society. Read on.
No man who is in a hurry is quite civilized.
They said, so you have to take your time. Think about this is the Greek point of view. This is the Greek perspective. They had to have slaves. So what encouraged them to bring us to Greek cultures? The fact that they didn't want to work. So but the Most High said, let's go back. I had to get that because it shows you how critical we were to Greek societies and necessary and why they brought us out over by the hundreds of thousands. But the Most High still said, man, I hate them though. Finish that in Ecclesiastes chapter 50.
24 here.
Read verse, we're at 26.
Ecclesiastes chapter 50 and verse 26. They that sit upon the mountain of Seir, and they that dwell among the Philistines, and that foolish people that dwell in Shechem, Jesus the son of Sirach of Jerusalem hath written in this book the instruction of understanding and knowledge, who out of his heart poured forth wisdom. Continue.
Yeah, it says, I was finished down to 29.
Verse 28. Blessed is he that shall be exercised in these things, and he that layeth them up in his heart shall become wise.
Go ahead.
For if he do them, he shall be strong to all things.
If you keep these commandments, he said you'll be strong to all things. Read on.
For the light of the Lord leadeth him, who giveth wisdom to the godly. Blessed be the Most High forever. Amen. Amen.
And so they didn't look at wisdom as being valued by the Most High. They looked at freedom. They valued freedom and time more than they looked at acquiring wisdom. But it wasn't until Ptolemy Philadelphus that they had a desire of acquisition to acquire our knowledge and our wisdom. And the motives behind it, like Philo said, may not have always been true, but they still had a desire to understand things that they did, that they saw as being beneficial to them, which we're going to actually bring this out later on down in the class, how Ptolemy Philadelphus had gave the Most High credit that by having the laws translated into Greek, that it benefited his legislation, and it benefited his kingdom, and it benefited his government by having the laws translated into Greek. But we'll get to that down the line. Let's go now back to Josephus and the Antiquities of the Jews, book 12. Where we at?
944.
We're in book 12, chapter 2, paragraph 5. Yes.
Line 44. When he was dead and had left a young son who was called Ananias, Simon's brother Eleazar, of whom we are speaking, took the high priesthood, and he it was to whom Ptolemy wrote, and that in the manner following: King Ptolemy to Eleazar the high priest sendeth greetings. There are many Jews who now dwell in my kingdom.
They said that in Alexandria alone, 1/5 of the entire population of Alexandria were Jews.
Wow.
So that's 20% of the population.
It's a lot.
In Egypt were Jews.
And that's already in Egypt, so it's already people of color in there anyway.
Yep. It is.
But now we're dealing with straight, pure Hebrews.
God. They say 1/5 of the population was Jews. Go ahead.
There are many Jews who now dwell in my kingdom, whom the Persians, when they were in power, carried captives.
He says some have been here since the time that the Persians were in authority and the Persians ruled Egypt. So there were some that had already been there from that time frame. Read on.
These were honored by my father, some of whom he placed in the army, and gave them greater pay than ordinary.
He says they carried greater pay than other people. They had worked their way up in the Greek society to where they had actually a substantial form of living. And if I can find this one, keep going.
To others of them, when they came with him into Egypt, he committed his garrisons, and the guardian of them, that they might be a terror to the Egyptians. And when I had taken the government, I treated all men with humanity, and especially those that are thy fellow citizens, of whom I have set free above 100,000.
He said, I set free about how many?
100,000.
Go ahead.
That were slaves, and paid the price of their redemption to their masters out of my own revenues. And those that are of a fit age, I have admitted into the number of my soldiers.
He says, I've also, the ones that made a fit age, they became soldiers. So we held positions in every aspect of Greek society, from the bottom to the top. Read on.
And for such as are capable of being faithful to me and proper for my court, I have put them in such a post, as thinking this kindness done to them to be a very great and acceptable gift, which I devote to the Most High for his providence over me.
It's a wholesale change.
Yeah.
It's a major change in society because he values the book.
Because he valued the book. It was, and this is why Philo talks about Ptolemy Philadelphus as being the best of the Ptolemies. Read this for me, Dawiyad. This is page 493. When it says, just read this highlighted part right here from among the Ptolemies.
All right.
Hold that thought, Juan, in the Josephus.
Yes, sir.
Among the Ptolemies, Philadelphus was the most illustrious. For all the rest
He
was,
said he called the Ptolemy Philadelphus, which was the third ruler of the Levant. Read.
was the most illustrious. For all the rest put together scarcely did as many glorious and praiseworthy actions as this one king.
He says you can add all the Ptolemy dynasty up all together, and all the Ptolemies put together didn't do as much in glorious actions as Ptolemy Philadelphus. Read on.
Did by himself, being as it were the leader of the herd, and in a manner the head of all the kings.
He said of all the kings of the Ptolemaic dynasty, he was the best of all the Ptolemies. Read on.
He then, being a sovereign of this character, and having conceived a great admiration for the love of the legislation of Moses, conceived the idea of having our laws translated into the Greek language. And immediately he sent out the ambassadors to the high priest, the king of Judea, for they were the same person. And having explained his wishes, and having requested him to pick him out a number of men of perfect fitness for the task, who should translate the law, the high priest, as was natural, being greatly pleased, and thinking that the king had only felt the inclination to undertake a work of such character, from having been influenced by the providence of the Most High.
He says he was Ptolemy Philadelphus. Philo said he was influenced by the providence of who?
Of the Most High.
So he valued the Most High more than any other other Ptolemies. Go ahead.
Considered, and with great care selected, the most respectable of the Hebrews, whom he had about him, who in addition to their knowledge and of their national scriptures, had also been well instructed in Grecian literature.
In what?
In Grecian literature.
So he says that the Jews were well acquainted with Grecian literature. But read on. So we spoke Greek.
And cheerfully sent them.
And so he said the high priest sent the best translators that were suitable for the task. This is why Philo looks up to Philadelphus and gives him accolades and credit, because he had a respect for the Most High out of all the Ptolemies. Let's go back to that, Thawal.
I have put them in such a post as thinking this kindness done to them to be a very great and an acceptable gift, which I devote to the Most High for his providence over me. And as I am desirous to do what will be grateful to these and to all the other Jews in the habitable earth, I have determined to procure an interpretation of your law.
He says, I want the law, but I also want an interpretation of the law. So he was asking for a breakdown of the law, because they couldn't understand the concepts of the Most High. It didn't match their pantheon of Greek theology, mythology, really.
Yeah.
They couldn't compare the two. It didn't make sense to them, so they needed the law translated, and they needed a breakdown on the side that give them the understanding of what they were reading. Read on.
And to have it translated out of Hebrew into Greek, and to be deposited in my library. Thou wilt therefore do well to choose out and send to me men of good character, who are more elders in age, and 6 in number, of every tribe. These, by their age, must be skillful in the laws, and of abilities to make an accurate interpretation of them. And when this shall be finished, I shall think that I have done a work glorious to myself. And I have sent to thee Andreas, the captain of my guard, and Aristeus, men whom I have in very great esteem, by whom I have sent those first fruits which I have dedicated to the temple, and to the sacrifices, and to other uses, to the value of 100 talents. And if thou wilt send to us, let us know what thou wouldest have further. Thou wilt do a thing acceptable to me. Continue. Line 51. When this epistle of the king was brought to Eleazar, he wrote an answer to it with all the respect possible. Eleazar, the high priest, the king of Ptolemy, sendeth greeting. If thou and thy queen Arsone and thy children be well, we are entirely satisfied.
Now, this is something that if you don't know Greek society, if you don't know Greek culture, you can read over this and not catch what Eliar is saying. If you don't know Greek culture, read it again for me real quick. This is very important right here, because what Eleazar agreed, the high priest Eleazar agrees to have the Bible translated and to send his best Hebrew scholars to do the work. But he says, read that again.
Line 51. When this epistle of the king was brought to Eleazar, he wrote an answer to it with all the respect possible. Eleazar, the high priest, to King Ptolemy, sendeth greeting. If thou and thy queen Arsinoe and thy children be well.
He said, just let me know if your family, your queen, what's her name?
Arsinoe.
And what else?
And thy children be well.
He said, why is he asking about Queen Arsinoe and your children? Why is he asking about Ptolemy Philadelphia's wife and the kids that they have? In order to understand this, we got to go here. I want you to read this, Dawiyah, for me. Page 116. And I want you to after a century of Greek domination.
Okay. And after a century of Greek domination, they were so far successful.
He says what?
And after a century of Greek domination.
So the Greeks dominated the world around 333 with the introduction of Alexander. Lived for 12 years. Ptolemy Sodar ruled for 40 years. And then Ptolemy Philadelphia ruled for 40 years. So 40 plus 12, that gives you 92. That gives you a good amount of time that the Greeks been in power. So about 100 years, right? About a century. Read on.
They were so far successful.
It said they were very successful. Read on.
That a complete change in the policy of the Ptolemies was effected.
Go ahead.
The house had very rapidly degenerated.
It says the problem with the Ptolemaic dynasty is that the house of the Ptolemaic dynasty started to become degenerated. What happened to the house of the Ptolemies? What did they start instituting in the house of the Ptolemies? Read on.
A process perhaps hastened by the Egyptians.
It says they adopted a culture that from the Egyptians. What was the culture?
A process perhaps hastened by the Egyptian custom of brother and sister marriage.
He says, what were they doing? What was the Ptolemaic dynasty doing?
Brother and sister marriage.
So what was causing the decline and the degrading of the Ptolemaic dynasty? They would bring in what in? Now go back and read this of what King Eleazar, why he asked him that question.
It says, when the epistle of the king was brought to Eleazar, he wrote an answer to it with all the respect possible. Eleazar, the high priest, to King Ptolemy, sent greetings.
The Egyptians lost.
If thou and thy queen Arsinoe and thy children be well, we are entirely satisfied.
He said, I'm happy if your wife and your kids are doing well. What does he know that other people may not know? Man, your wife is your sister.
Yeah, the direct thing.
And when you go to Leviticus chapter 18, what does the Most High say about that?
To lie, not to uncover the nakedness.
Let's read it. Ain't no sister marrying brother and brother marrying sister. First of all, start at verse 1.
Leviticus chapter 18, verse 1.
Yep.
Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your power. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do.
He said, these are the things that you should not do. Read on.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan.
And this is why the Most High said in Ecclesiastes, and what the son of Sirach said, it's two things the Most High hate. And one of them is the Philistines, which is the ancient Canaanites. He says, because they do something that the Most High doesn't approve of. Read on.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do.
Go ahead.
Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments, and keep my ordinances, to walk therein. I am the Lord your power.
Read.
Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him.
It says you're never supposed to approach anybody that is kin to you. And do what?
To uncover their nakedness.
Go ahead.
I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father.
Jump down to verse 9.
Verse 9. The nakedness of thy sister.
And Most High already has commandments that are set up to tell you that you're never supposed to marry your who?
Sister.
Never supposed to even see your sister naked. You don't supposed to even see each other change clothes. Be in the same area with no clothes on. But this is a practice that the Canaanites believed in. This was a practice that the Egyptians believed in. This is a practice that even the Ptolemies started doing.
They adopted it.
And they adopted it. And from that adoption, then started to the downfall and the degrading of the Ptolemaic Empire. As much as they loved the wisdom from the scriptures, what started to initiate their downfall is the illicit customs they possessed. Read that, Dawiyat.
The Egyptians lost respect for the Greeks.
Go ahead.
The Greeks, if such a thing can be believed, lost respect for themselves.
Go ahead.
Year by year, they forgot their own language.
It says the Greeks, year by year, forgot their own what?
Their own language.
The Greeks used to speak what's called Attic Greek, which is an ancient form of Greek. And from Attic Greek comes Koine Greek, or Koine Greek.
That's the writing Greek, right?
That's the writing Greek, and that was supposed to be the proper Greek. But it came from Attic Greek. He says, but year by year, they even stopped speaking Attic Greek and Koine Greek, because they say that the Septuagint was written in Koine Greek. He said they forgot how to speak that Greek. Read on.
And spoke a corrupt mixture of Greek and Egyptian.
So they started mixing, like if you speak Spanglish, Spanglish is what? Spanish and English. Is it really clear? It's like you're using Spanish, and then when you can't come up with the word, you use English, or you speak in English, and you can't come up with the word, you use Spanish. That's what the Greeks were doing while they were living in Egypt. They started merging the Egyptian language and the Greek language together, and they started speaking Egyptian.
Yeah.
Egyptian. Read on. I'm just making that up.
But I tell you, you come to America, you better learn some American.
We speak American.
We speak American here. So you come here, you better learn some American. But their whole language.
But does American here speak British English?
No.
No.
Our language is a bastard tongue.
Yeah. And that's what happened in Greece. That was the beginning of the downfall. Read on.
More and more of them married their sisters.
It says the Greeks, more and more, they start doing what?
Married their sisters.
Go ahead.
After native custom.
And they got it from who? The Egyptians.
The Egyptians.
You know what I'm saying? They got it from the Egyptians.
They gifted the Egyptians.
Yeah, they took on the Egyptian culture while thriving in Egypt, and started adopting Egyptian commandments or ideologies. Read
Makes a
on.
lot of sense. Or married into Egyptian families and were absorbed.
Yep.
Thousands of them worshiped Egyptian gods.
And then the Greeks started worshiping who?
Egyptian gods.
It got so bad that even one of the Ptolemies called himself a pharaoh, like Ptolemy fifth or sixth,
Wow.
called himself a pharaoh. Go ahead.
By the 2nd century, the Greeks had ceased to be a dominant race, even politically. The Ptolemies, to preserve their authority, had adopted the Egyptian faith and ritual. It had increased the power of the priest as the kings sank into Epicurean ease. The clergy reasserted its leadership.
So now the Egyptian priests became more respected in Greek society than the Greeks Epicureans. Finish that.
And won back year by year the lands and privileges which the earlier Ptolemies had taken away.
So now they started losing the grip. This is the beginning of the downfall of the Greek Empire when they started instituting Egyptian customs such as incest. So now, Thawam, let's go back to why that question in Josephus, line 51, book 12, chapter 2, paragraph 6, line 51.
Line 51. When this epistle of the king was brought to Eleazar, he wrote an answer to it.
He said, "You want the law written in Hebrew, and you want the breakdown of it written in Hebrew. Read on, or the law written in Greek."
With all the respect possible.
He said, "I don't mean no disrespect, but what?
Eleazar the high priest to King Ptolemy sendeth greeting. If thou and thy queen Arsinoe and thy children be well."
He said, "Why would you ask if the children of incest be well?" Because usually what happens when there's incest involved?
Diseases. Genetic defects.
Yeah. There's genetic defects.
There's physical differences that happen to the Europeans in Europe. When they had their royal bloodlines, their royal families, a lot of them they were born with all kind of issues and maladies and sicknesses and weaknesses because they kept intermarrying.
Yep.
They even say, this is rumored, they even say that Bill Clinton and what's his wife's name? Hillary Clinton, they say that it's rumored that they're actually brother and sister.
I don't know.
That's a rumor, but it's rumored that they're brother and sister.
What we're reading today, I really wouldn't doubt it coming from Idumeans and Edomites. Read on.
We are entirely satisfied. When we received thy epistle, we greatly rejoiced at thy intentions. And when the multitude were gathered together, we read it to them, and thereby made them sensible of the piety thou hast toward the Most High. We also showed them the 20 vials of gold, and 30 of silver, and the 5 large basins, and the table for the showbread, and also the 100 talents for the sacrifices, and for the making what shall be needful at the temple, which things Andreas and Artisius, those most honored friends of thine, have brought us, and truly they are persons of an excellent character, and of great learning, and worthy of thy virtue. Know then that we will gratify thee in what is for thy advantage, though we do what we used not to do before. For we ought to make a return for the numerous acts of kindness which thou hast done to our countrymen. We immediately, therefore, offered sacrifices for those and thy sister, and thy children and friends, and the multitude made prayer.
He says, so we'll do something that we don't normally do, and we'll pray for the fact that you got an ancestral relationship.
How do you pray on that?
And we're going to pray that the Most High look over your family and your household, even though the Greeks didn't see nothing wrong with it. Read on.
That thy affairs may be to thy mind, and that thy kingdom may be preserved in peace, and that the translation of our law may come to the conclusion thou desirest, and be for thy advantage. We have also chosen 6 elders out of every tribe, whom we have sent, and the law with them. It will be thy part out of thy piety and justice to send back the law when it had been translated.
Eleazar asked for a copy of it in the Greek once it's translated. Read on.
And to return those to us that bring it in safety. Farewell.
Read chapter 7. We may end it on this chapter 7. We may. Read that.
This was the reply which the high priest made. But it does not seem to me to be necessary to set down the names of the 72 elders who were sent by Eleazar, and carried the law, which yet were subjoined at the end of the epistle. However, I thought it not improper to give an account to those very valuable and artificially contrived vessels which the king sent to the Most High, that all may see how great a regard the king had for the Most High. For the king allowed a vast deal of expenses for the king allowed a vast deal of expenses for these vessels, and came often to the workmen, and viewed their works, and suffered nothing of the carelessness or negligence to be any damage to their operations. And I will relate how rich they were as well as I am able, although perhaps the nature of this history may not require such a description. But I imagine I shall thereby recommend the elegant taste and magnanimity of this king to those that read this history.
So before we go into the treasures and the amount of wealth that he distributed to the 72 translators, and how they were treated and favored for the task at hand, we're going to jump over here to Philo real quick and read this right here, Dawiyat, on how they were treated when they got there. Line 33, and just read down to outside the city. The island of Pharaohs. Read that right there. Read to the green.
To the green color.
Yeah. Because when they arrived to the Alexandria, they were placed in a particular place. They were situated in a very comfortable environment. Read.
Point 33. And when they arrived at the king's court, they were hospitably received by the king. And where they feasted, they in return feasted their entertainer with witty and virtuous conversation.
It says these 72 wise men, they kept questioning Ptolemy Philadelphus with witty questions. They were seeing what he knew. Remember, he was a collector of books. He amassed one of the greatest libraries in all of history. So they were kind of trying to figure out, what does he understand? And he was doing the same to them. Read.
It says, for he made experiment of the wisdom of each individual among them.
So he went through Ptolemy went through 72 men and gave them questions to see what kind of men they were in mind. See what kind of men they were in understanding. He was drilling each and every one of those 72 scholars to find out what they understood. Read.
Putting to them a succession of new and extraordinary questions.
He said he put together extraordinary questions. Read on.
And they, since the time did not allow of their king being prolix.
Prolix means long. It would have took too long to answer all the questions. Read on.
In their answers, replied with great propriety and fidelity, as if they were delivering apologies, which they had already prepared. So
it said that their wisdom was so fluid, they didn't hesitate or stutter to deliver what they understood and knew to King Ptolemy.
Wow.
He said it was so fluid, it just rolled off their tongue like it was no struggle whatsoever. It was no struggle to deliver the answers to the questions, no matter how difficult they were. There was no struggle whatsoever. It was fluid. It was already on the tip of their tongue and the top of their minds. So they were able to quickly answer any question he asked. Read.
So when they had won his approval, they immediately began to fulfill the objects for which the honorable embassy had been sent. And considering among themselves how important the affair was to translate laws which had been divinely given by direct inspiration, since they were not able to either take away anything or to add anything.
It says now they were so detailed, they wanted to make sure that when they translated this book, that they didn't lose anything of the understanding or try to add something into the text to change the meaning of it. What does that sound like?
That's scripture right there, right?
That sounds like what King James did. When you read what King James did and how he translated the scriptures from Hebrew and Greek into English, he had the same level, not 72, I think he had 66 scholars. And he made sure he divided them up in groups, I believe 6 groups or groups of 9, and they made sure that they went through and they each one had a certain set of books that they had to interpret or translate, and then they had an overseer for each level to make sure that those were right, and then they had another group of overseers that made sure that the collection was synthesized. So they had overseers for the overseers to make sure of the accuracy of the translation. The same thing that we're reading about now is that they didn't want to lose any of the impact of through the translation, because we know that when you translate something, it's easy to lose its power. We know that from the prologue of Ecclesiastes. Read on.
Or to alter anything, but were bound to preserve the original form and character of the whole composition.
Yep.
They had to make sure they did not alter the spirit of the writing either.
Nope.
They looked out for the most completely purified place of all the spots on the outside of the city.
Now, when you look at Alexandria, it was divided up like a cross. They had a main street that was about 100 feet wide going north to south. They had another main street perpendicular to that main street going east and west. And the way the city was divided, they had the south, of course, is closest to the water. When you look at Egypt on the map, it looks like it's north, but actually that's south, because that's where the river Nile flows northward on a map. But it's actually flowing down to the ocean, to the Mediterranean. So the water is the closest, which is the south. That's where the wealthy of the Greek society lived. That was the best part of Alexandria. And you couldn't live there unless you were actually a Greek. So you couldn't live there in that particular neighborhood unless you were a Greek citizen or a Greek. Then on the west side of Greek was the Egyptians that had been overtaken by the Greeks, but they were pushed to the west. And on the northeast of Alexandria dwelt the Jews and Samaritans. But the majority of the Jews dwelt in the northeast of Alexandria. So the most purest place was the place that was the cleanest.
Yeah.
And the place that was the most beautiful, which was the channel, which when the river Nile splits into that delta, it creates all these channels, and in these channels you have these yachts that the rich had.
Wow, even back then? Even yacht city.
Even back then they had yachts.
Like Miami?
Yes, just like when you go to Ocean Drive in Miami, and when you're driving on Ocean Drive, you cross all those areas where they have the channels that they got the drawbridges that let the yachts go underneath, and you're close to the ocean and they let out to the ocean, and they got the yacht, they got a smaller boat connected to that, towing a smaller boat, then they're towing jet skis behind that. I mean, this was the yacht area or the channel of Alexandria that they chose. It was a quiet place that had water that didn't have any waves, but you could walk out to the water and you could be in the water, and it would only go about 3 feet deep.
Wow.
Or waist high, but you could be in the water. There was a particular channel where the water was serene, no crashing waves, no noise, but the water was calm and clear. And you could walk out to the water for 7 furlongs and you still not be underwater. It was a beautiful place that they chose.
That's very close to what you see in commercials when you say come to the Caribbean.
Yep.
And they're walking in the water, the shore water. It's very clear. And they can see the little fish and everything going through.
But they can walk out and it still only be waist high. That's what they chose in this particular place. Read on.
For the places within the walls, as being filled with all kinds of animals, were held in suspicion by them by reason of the
and
diseases.
the reason why they said they held it in suspicion is because the zoo of Alexandria was placed on the wealthy side of town. Read on.
It says, and deaths of some, and the accursed actions of those who were in health. The island of Pathros.
That's the place. The island of what?
Pathros.
Yeah, keep reading that green part. Because the island that they went to is right next to Alexandria. What they did was they made a man-made dike of stones that went out and jutted out into this island, and there at the end of that island is where they decided to translate the scriptures. You had a question?
I did. I was wondering if they were like one of the first cultures that have a zoo, or did like the Egyptians have it too?
No, the Babylonians had a zoo too. Yeah, remember Babylonians had a zoo also.
Oh.
But in Alexandria, they were situated right next to the wealthy class. Read on.
The island of Pathros lies in front of Alexandria, the neck of which runs out like a sort of tongue toward the city, being surrounded with water of no great depth.
It says it was surrounded by water of no great what?
Of no great depth.
So you could walk out in the water and not have to worry about getting, falling down and getting swept by undercurrents. He said, but the water was shallow and beautiful. Read on.
But chiefly with shoals and shallow water, so that the great noise and roaring from the beating of the waves is kept at the considerable distance, and so mitigated.
So this is the place they chose. So now we'll stop there because there's something that happened on this particular island when they were translating this work from Hebrew into Greek. There was a miracle that happened.
What?
And we're going to read it from a couple of different sources. There was a miracle that happened in the translation, during the translation, that let it be known both to the Greeks and to the Jews that the Most High was divinely inspiring the work to be translated. This is how they knew the Most High was behind the translation. So it was a miracle that happened that there's no way that the Most High wasn't behind this. It was a miracle at that time to let them know and identify that the Most High approves of this work being translated. And we'll get to that next week. All right. So with that, any questions? All right. Okay. So we'll go ahead and send our prayers up. Imagine we'll point your welcome down, rise and face to east. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Please listen to us right now. Send Micah Allah. And the righteous angels. To watch over. Bless. Heal. Protect. And make strong. The people of Yahshua. Also send unto us. Much wisdom. Much knowledge. Much understanding. Much patience. Much faith. Much brotherhood. And much love. Spiritual power. And forgive all of our sins. Yahweh Shai, come quickly. For in thee is our hope. Always. And forever. Amen.
Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Natalanawa. Atawara.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us the law.
All right. Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Hawa'a. Natalanawa. Awar. Lara'a.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us the light to see.
Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Natalanawa. Ha'ayon. Korah. La Korah. Ha'ain.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Right. Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shem Yahushai.
Natalanawa.
Shaman.
Salakia. Natalanawa. Shaman. Zayath. Lamashah. Yasha'ala.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
All right. Psalms 92. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord Yahweh.
It's a good thing to give thanks to the Lord Yahweh.
And to sing praises unto thy name.
And to sing praises to thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
To show forth the loving kindness in the morning.
And thy faithfulness every night.
And thy faithfulness every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
The solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh. Hast made me glad through thy work.
Let me glad thy word.
I will triumph in the works of thy hands.
I will triumph in the works of thy hands.
O Yahweh, how great are thy works!
How great are thy works!
And thy thoughts are very deep.
Thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
They shall be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh. Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thine enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
O Yahweh. For lo thine enemies. Shall perish. All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity
shall be scattered. But mine horn shalt thou exalt.
My horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
The horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
My eye also shall see.
My desire on mine enemies.
My desire on my enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire.
My desire
of the wicked.
Of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of Yahweh.
Those that be planted in the house of Yahweh.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
There's no unrighteousness in him.
By Hashem Yahushua.
By Hashem Yahushua.
Psalms 133. Shayar, Hama'awa, Ladawai, Hana, Ma, Tawa, Wama, Na'ayom, Shabbat, Akim, Gam, Yachad, Kashaman, Hatawa, Ayel, Hara'ash, Yarad, Ayel, Hazakwan, Zakwan, Aharad, Shayarad, Ayel, Payah, Manawathiwa, Katol, Karamwan, Shayarad, Ayel, Hararia, Tazawan, Kayab, Sham, Tazawa, Yahweh, Af, Habaraka, Kayayim, Id, Hawalam, Ba'ashem Yahushua.
Psalm 133. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head, that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh, Ba'ashem,
Yahushua,
Barakanoah, Washalom, Wahabiyat, Sapari, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Barakanoah, Washalom, Wahabiyat, Sapari, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Barakanoah, Washalom, Wahabiyat, Sapari, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Barakanoah, Washalom, Wahabiyat, Sapari, Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. The word of Yahweh. The word of Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
Dawada Yahweh.
Dawada Yahweh.
Dawada Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shai.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
Dawada Yahweh.
Dawada Yahweh.
Dawada Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shai.
All love.
All love.
All mercy.
All mercy.
All long suffering.
All long-suffering.
All patience.
All patience.
All piety.
All piety.
All reverence.
All reverence.
All justice.
All justice.
All wisdom.
All wisdom.
All knowledge.
All knowledge.
All understanding.
All understanding.
All praise.
All praise.
All might.
All might.
All joy.
All joy.
All power.
All power.
It's from Yahweh.
From Yahweh.
All power.
All power.
It's from Yahweh.
From Yahweh.
All power.
All power.
It's from Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In Yahweh Shai's name we pray.
Yahweh Shai's name we pray.
The water.
The water.
Tamyat.
Tamyat.
Aman.
Aman.
Then circle up. Sisters, have a seat. Nathan, you got it?
Shooting out in the heavenly order. Yeah, why Yahweh Shai?
Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai?
Yahweh Shai.
Why call Yahshua?
Why call Yahshua? Name of Israel. Aman. Barak.
Yahweh Shai.
Come on, come Yahshua.
Come Yahshua.
Come Yahshua.
Come Yahshua. Come Yahshua.
Judgment to the sisters. Stand amongst the God. Shooting out in the daughters of God. Name of Israel. Aman. Barak.
Yahweh Shai. That's my time. Dismissed. Fall out.
All right. Thanks for showing up.
All right, everybody. Good to see you. Shabbat shalom, everybody. We will be taking a break. We probably won't have class for sure. Maybe on Monday. I think maybe on Monday we'll have class. It'll be the last class. But starting Wednesday night, we'll be celebrating Hanukkah at sundown. And we probably won't have class that Wednesday, Friday, and that Saturday. So Shabbat shalom, everybody. Peace and blessings to you and your household. Shalom.
Thank you.
It's good, man.